Welcome all to a fresh edition of A Wide World of Electronic Sports, episode 157. We are joined by a few guests this week, and of course, my co-host, Rodney Collins Jr. How you doing, Rod? How you feeling?
I'm doing really well, man, but I'm really excited, man, to introduce our guest. It's not very often that we get to summon Lord Donovan Erskine to the show, so it's always nice to pull him across the Shacknews multiverse. What's going on, Donovan?
What's up, man? What's up? Yeah, I think last time I was on here was like Red Bull Kumite last year, which was also in November. So it's good to be back.
Nice.
Yeah, sir. It's good to have you. And of course, we got our guest, Denny, man, the legendary, the illustrious, you know what I'm saying? Just the everything else in between, man. Lord Emvee, man. How are you feeling, bro?
Hello, what's poppin', everybody? Feeling good, man. Just here to talk about Pokemon Chill. I got some water. Gotta stay hydrated always.
Yes, of course. You know, hydration is important. But salute to you, be on the show. Welcome on in. But yeah, we had a major release here. Obviously, the brand new Pokemon hit last week, and there's been plenty of people talking about it. So looking forward to diving into your thoughts and opinions about the brand new game.
Yeah, and just so in case anyone doesn't know who I am, I go by Emvee or Lord Emvee. And so I would say I probably know what I'm doing when it comes to competitive Pokemon. Specifically single battles. Got almost 70,000 followers on YouTube, and I've specialized particularly in making literally any Pokemon, doesn't matter which one, work competitively.
Okay. I like the way that sounds, man. Maybe you can give me some tips and some pointers because I'm super duper whack in competitive Pokemon. But I get my casual on, man. We talked that glitch when we first met, or maybe it was Pound. It was something up there, and we talked about like Pokemon cards and shiny hunting. So, but yeah, you're definitely going to teach us about some competitive Pokemon. Let's get it.
100%. I got you.
Let's do it. So yeah, I mean, dude, where do we even start, man? I mean, here you are being the very best, like no one ever was. But bro, where did this start for you? Because there's a lot of people who know you as the big figure that you are, but somewhere along your journey, you have a pallet town in your backyard. Where did this start, bro?
Oh yeah. Okay. Started when I was obviously started when I was a kid. And I think it was probably the trading card game that kind of got me into it. First, just collecting. A lot of my friends had cards. I was like, I want cards too. I got cards. And then I think it was probably maybe around the 4th or 5th grade or so, where I actually got my first console. And this was, I think, around when Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire dropped, the originals.
Yes, sir. That Gen 3 hype.
Exactly. So I had very strict parents. They didn't want to get me any console. My aunt got me a console for like Christmas or something. And then they were like, no, why'd you do that? But then, I really, really started getting into Pokemon after that. It kind of took off for me. Casually, of course. Competitive wise, I got into it around Generation 5. So that's when I think everything like the Lord Emvee, everything like that started taking off after Generation 5. But the origin as a kid, just loved playing it. All my friends played it. I'd go to my neighbor's house, play Pokemon there. I'd be so into Pokemon, and I would not have it would not be bought for me as often. So, I'd lose friends from stealing Pokemon.
Now, wait a minute. Now, hold on.
Cards.
Hold on. I didn't know you had some Team Rocket in you, man. What's this about?
A little bit of Team Rocket in me. I was like at my friend's house one time, and I saw this one Scizor card. It was a really old card, and I'd never seen a Scizor before. I was like, I kind of want this card, and I took it home, and then like my friend's mom called that night. Do you have any a Scizor card or something in your binder by accident? Yeah. Never talked to me for 5 years.
Jeez.
5 years.
Scissors, no joke.
Yeah. So
it was putting in the work.
A little bit of Team Rocket in me as well. But of course, now it's all like competitive. I feel like after I learned how to play Pokemon competitively, when I go back and play casually in game, I'm like, oh, I got to look at natures, I got to look at this, I got to look at that. It's like it's never the same. But I think this new game definitely kind of channeled that old sort of enjoyment that I used to have just for like, fresh without anything in mind kind of thing. Like competitive wise, I was just, when you go into a brand new generation, everything's brand new. So you kind of want to just enjoy it in the moment.
That's beautiful, man. I'm actually glad we have Donovan here as well, because Donovan, of course, got his hands on the game a little bit earlier and was able to kind of give his first thoughts in it. And Donovan, do you play the game competitively at all, or is you just the casual Pokemon enjoyer like myself?
Mostly casual. I'll battle my friends a lot. We'll do our own little tournaments. I've like dabbled in EV training and breeding for perfect IVs and stuff, but definitely not on the level as the folks that do that stuff for real.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that stuff is some serious business. But I'm very curious, man. Like, what are your guys' thoughts on it? Because I read up quite a bit, and of course, we did our articles at Shacknews about it. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, the basis of the game, like, every Pokemon world is based off of like an area of the world that we live in. I think this one is Spain, if I'm not mistaken. Like, do you guys feel like the creative integrity in this game is kind of shining through, or is it just kind of getting overshadowed by the glitches and all that weird stuff?
I think it's interesting in the sense that, with each new region, they're introducing kind of different Pokemon cultures, I guess you could say.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember, I think the initial generations I think those lands were all just Japan, right? If I'm not mistaken.
So.
Right? And then they
Yeah.
started branching out to different parts of the world. And now even like, for example, this past year in London was Pokemon Worlds. For the first time, they had it outside of the United States. So, which is pretty interesting for that. Next year being in Japan. So I feel like this whole kind of thing where different regions are different places in the world. It's nice because it kind of connects you to these things. It gives you a sort of sense that maybe like everything like places are different kind of thing. Pokemon are different, places are different. It kind of connects you on a real sense. You know what I mean?
That's right. That's right. And what about you, Donovan? I know you've given your thoughts on kind of the game's makeup, and as somebody who's been playing Pokemon as long as yourself, what were your thoughts on it creatively?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of great ideas in Scarlet and Violet. Just the open world exploration, I think, is great for both casual and also like hardcore fans alike. A lot of the new Pokemon are really cool, new creative abilities and movesets. But it does just come down to the performance stuff for me. And I know you guys take the esports angle on this show, and I'm just very curious to see, like, if at all that has a big impact on VGC. The battles aren't the worst part of the game performance-wise. It's usually the open world stuff. So I'm curious to see if they do have to address any of the, like, visuals for battles and stuff like that going forward, or will they be able to kind of skate by with how things are right now? But I guess time will tell.
Yeah, so I think the big difference, I think, between like that, definitely the performance issues were a thing, are a thing for sure. The good thing is that it's not like some kind of a game where you need reflexes or something like that. You need to like be able to.
Yeah.
If there's something that's lagging like that, then you're gonna have a tough time. But here you're just like you input something, whatever it takes to go through, it goes through, and things like that. So you're playing with like more of like a click wait kind of thing for the opponent to do something like that. So it's just an animation kind of thing, or more of a visual appearance. But I don't think it affects the players that are playing.
Yeah, well, I think Pokemon has done a really great job over the last like decade, especially of like trying to re-innovate what Pokemon is and how to get more people in on it. Now, I come from more of like the TCG background, and I've seen everything that they just did last year. We did all the Pokemon openings on Retail Therapy, and that's another show we do here on Shacknews. But like between like the celebrations, all the hard to find stuff, like they had cards implemented into the sets for like the hardcore gamers or hardcore players, excuse me. And then he had, pretty cards and shiny cards, stuff like, I would like. I don't have any business in the actual battle format. And I think with the video games are kind of doing the same thing too, where as the worlds in Pokemon become a little bit bigger, our worlds are starting to become bigger, like you mentioned, where we're going to like the UK for Worlds and we'll be in Japan next year. But I don't know. I just feel like for a company as big as Pokemon, I mean, let's just be real, they shit out product, and people buy it. I would imagine a product like this that's been so highly anticipated would have just been a little cleaner at launch.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely would agree with that. I mean, of course, Pokemon is Pokemon, but at the same time, I think that the quality, there has to be some more kind of like quality checks going down Especially considering the ties to Nintendo as well. Who, I mean, that Nintendo stamp of approval used to mean a lot more in different ways, depending throughout the years for different consoles and such. So when you move into the you can't take things for granted. Basically, I mean, sure, it's working out pretty well right now, but you fall off enough times and people stop taking you as seriously for being a day one type of pickup, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's true.
I can see that. Yeah, I mean, the time frame between Legends Arceus and this was what, like 9 months,
Yeah,
pretty much,
Yeah, that's pretty wild.
give or take.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I
turnaround
mean,
time is
like
crazy.
Turner. Yeah, I mean that's a small window frame, unless they had like multiple teams working on it. But I'm not sure.
I mean, honestly, Pokemon's quality has just kind of been all over the place. And again, I mean it's with the utmost respect because I love Pokemon for what it is, but sometimes you do have to kind of, hold some of these, some of the people behind the scenes accountable. I mean, we even see it with the cards. I mean, you and I talked for at least like 2 hours when we seen each other last. We're like, yo, some of the cards that are being cut right now looks like they're being cut with the butter knife. Like, we don't know if the machines are getting rusty or what's going on, but it ain't the clean Pokemon product that I'm so used to. So maybe it is just like a matter of like the turnaround time. Like, damn, we just got to get this out. We got to get it to the people, no matter what.
Yeah, the turnaround time is definitely a big thing, and I think the major issue here is that like Pokemon is it's the biggest franchise in entertainment, right? So like Scarlet and Violet are going to be one of the best selling games of 2022, no matter what any of us have to say about it. And as we all know, it's a business. At the end of the day, the one thing that like affects change is money, and as long as these games are printing money, Game Freak, Nintendo, the Pokemon Company aren't going to have that like come to Jesus moment where they're like, all right, we need to like scrap this formula. We need to take 5 years to make a game. Like they're never going to have that huge shift unless a Pokemon game comes out and flops financially, which I just don't know. I don't see a future where that happens anytime soon. But who knows? I could be wrong.
No, I mean, it's still a good point. I mean, clearly Pokemon does what it does, but I feel like it just depends on like what people are willing to deal with, especially if I think the main thing is competition. Like Pokemon is not really being checked or challenged in that way, in a lot of ways. So that makes it easier. People, kind of jump on there in the same regard that you might not see in other genres or game franchises. So that's definitely a factor as well.
Yeah, no doubt about that, man. Quality is everything, I think, with especially companies that have like really big IPs, like they're just so recognizable. Like Pikachu's big over here. Pikachu's like Jesus Christ over in Japan. So, I would imagine the products that are going out, maybe in the future they would have to, think a little bit harder, or maybe just wait a little longer too. Like I wouldn't have been upset about a delay. Like, hey, we just want to make sure this is the best experience possible. Now, on the topic of good experiences, Lord Emvee, I'm sure you've had quite a few of those competitively in Pokemon, man. What were some of like your earliest dubs in competitive Pokemon? Because again, like we know who you are today, but there might be some first time viewers that are like, yo, how did Lord Emvee even get to this point? How do you even get this strong? Where did it start, bro? What were some of your earliest dubs?
Right. So there were a lot of different online simulators. Basically, I kind of emulated the game. Pokemon Showdown is the newest one, which is where you can kind of build your teams on there as if it were in the game at the highest level 100s and whatnot, and then battle other people pretty easily without having to like breed or having to do any of that kind of stuff. And so before that, there was a simulator called Pokemon Online. Pokemon Online was created, I think, around Generation 4 or 5. And so this was my first introduction to competitive battling. So I became pretty good at, once I picked up the hang of it, I became pretty good at like the ladder. So the ladder system, I hit number 1 probably like 13 or 14 times. Then people started noticing me more. I started playing in tournaments. They would have forum tournaments where you play, and if you win, you get like a trophy or a badge or something like that for your profile. So there was one on Pokemon Online probably a long, long time ago. But everybody was playing there before they were playing on Pokemon Showdown, which is now. And so I won like 3 or 4 big tournaments back then. And then around that time, one of my good friends, he's already pretty big on YouTube at the time. He got me into YouTube as well. He said, people are enjoying like watching you play, and you're actually pretty good at the game. Why don't you make a YouTube channel? kick it off from there. And then so with that, that's how I came up from there. So I think some of my biggest wins were kind of behind the scenes, and then also I started doing something called draft leagues. Draft leagues in Pokemon, essentially, you're playing with like 15 other people or something. You're all kind of picking a Pokemon in a draft style format where it's like a snake style, kind of like fantasy football in a sense, where you're drafting a Pokemon. Once it goes snake style, and then comes back to you, and so you pick like 10 or 11 Pokemon, and then you play against all the other people. So this was my first entrance in the draft league quite some time ago. And then I played, I think, some bigger names in the draft scene, bigger YouTubers, and then I guess those wins, because nobody thought that, coming from the ladder play and doing a draft play where you could see their teams and counter team based on what you see, nobody thought like, I would match in terms of skill, in terms of ladder play or tournament play and draft play. And then they were like, oh, you're like, this Pokemon is one-dimensional, this Pokemon is this. And I brought all these different kinds of sets that just blew their mind. And those are some of the best wins. They're on YouTube too.
Dude, that's fucking amazing. Yo, what team did you run, if you don't mind me asking? I mean, I know sometimes the magician doesn't want to reveal their secrets, but I mean, this was so long ago. What's up?
Oh, yeah. No, the videos are up. I brought, like, for example, if I tell you the Pokemon Donovan, what would you think a Donovan would do? Because I'm sure you all know Generation 2 Donovan. What do you think Donovan would do?
I mean, roll out and, crazy stuff like that? I don't know. He would actually be kind of defensive, wouldn't he?
Yeah, exactly. You would think he'd be kind of defensive, right? Yeah. So I ran a Rock Polish, which doubles your speed, a speedy, fast Donphan with Rock Polish, Natural Gift, where it consumes a berry and then changes the type based on the berry you eat, Natural Gift Fire, and I just destroyed stuff.
Please.
Wait a minute. Now, wait a minute. How does that work? Wait. You're going to have to give us the science on this one right here, because I'm not a Pokemon professor, okay?
Sure.
What type of thinking, what type of layers of thinking are you even on right now? Break that down for us.
All right. So you look at the opponent's team. You see, okay, they can only be this fast. Their fastest Pokemon is this. Now, let's look at my team. If I can find a way to outrun every single one of theirs and have the right moves, the right coverage to hit every one of theirs as effectively as I can essentially sweep. I can just run through their entire team. So I saw Donphan, okay, this speed doubled, Rock Polish doubles your speed if you use it once. This speed doubled is going to be faster than all of these. Okay, so I'm going to now give it this move, and like, okay, I don't have coverage for this, but I'm going to give it Natural Gift and give it a type of berry, which changes to any type you want depending on the berry, to add that coverage to beat whatever Pokemon I can't touch there.
Now, wait, what type is Donphan already? Isn't he ground? Is he a ground type?
Yeah, but it changes the move type. So Natural Gift is usually a normal type attack, but depending on the berry, it can become ice, it can become water, it can become grass, it can become anything you want.
Oh, that's fucked up. Dude, you were kicking some butt. What the heck? Oh my god.
I like the creativity there, because I know you mentioned earlier that you specialize in taking Pokemon that people wouldn't typically use in a competitive setting and making them competitive. I think that's dope, because one thing that's always turned me off about competitive Pokemon, probably a lot of people, is that it feels like there's a small pool of Pokemon that are like meta, or the ones that you're supposed to use, the like good ones, and then it's like the other 80% are like bad or underused. If you use them, like you're fighting a losing battle. So I do like that you kind of you approach with that angle. Getting to pick up some strats for sure.
Yeah, that's beautiful, man. I mean, I again, coming from somebody like myself, my biggest battle triumph was like Battle Frontier and Pokemon Emerald. But to be fair, okay, now Ruby and Sapphire was kind of a cakewalk. Like, you do the Elite Four, you do the Battle Tower, boom. Battle Frontier opened up, and I was one of those casuals where I was like, my Pokemon, each move has to be an attack. I don't use moves like Protect or Perish Song or nothing like that. Everything needs to be an attack. And I rolled up to the Battle Frontier and got my ass beat. You know what I'm saying? Like, they were using tactics on me. It was bad. I was getting what's it called? Charmed? Like, fresh out the gate, like first area I went into, I got hit with Charm and I couldn't even attack because I was immobilized by love forever. And I'm like, damn, Fissure can't do nothing about this. Like, I can't use one-hit kills on moves like that,
And plus, it's only 30 accuracy, so you have to get lucky.
That too. That too. Wow, that's amazing, man. And you said your first Pokemon game was Ruby and Sapphire. Now that wasn't online, was it? I don't remember. You couldn't run that on the computer, could you?
I think they had so I think they even had a simulator before Pokemon Online called Shoddy Battle, where I think that was generation maybe 3 and 4, maybe. I'm pretty sure it was before my time for competitive, but you know, it was definitely I was not in the zone for competitive. I was trying to like beat my friends, not in a competitive, like I was trying to be competitive, but I wasn't like, you know, at the level of competitive you need to be to actually, you know, compete.
Yeah, that's amazing. Now, what was your first tournament? Like what, and also what got you on that plane or in that carpool to go to your first event? Because I mean, honestly, like all of us, we all do so much traveling around for work and gaming and esports, but you know, there was a time where like that world was a little nerve wracking. It's like, damn, I've never been to a gaming event before, and I have to perform, whether I have to ask questions, write articles, you know, compete. So, I mean, where did you find the courage to go to your first tournament, and how did you do when you got there?
So here's the thing. So for VGC, which is the official tournament, that's doubles. I specialize in single battles. So a lot of the tournaments that are singles are all online tournaments. So you get your name recognized, but like not the person or face until YouTube came along. Then I was more recognized for all that kind of stuff. So the traveling stuff that I did was only just for fun, just to go to VGC tournaments and like things like that, just to hang out with people and friends. And they don't know me because of YouTube, and I would just do that. I'd go to like, so I've been to like 3 or 4 of the Pokemon Worlds events. Those were really fun, and I've been to some regional whatever tournaments. I've played in some tournaments before, like twice in-person tournaments, and I think I topped like 60 something or top something for one of them, which was pretty good. And this is VGC, and they're a completely different style. Single battles and double battles essentially is VGC. VGC is double battles, where you have 2 Pokemon versus 2 Pokemon. That's a completely different format because you have to think differently, right? You have 2 targets instead of just 1 target where you know you're going to hit. Then you got to decide kind of like which one to target, which one to switch, and kind of play a different. It's a completely different mind game.
I'd imagine it could be like the difference between using moves like Surf, you know, that you know are probably going to hit both opponents, or like Hyper Beam, where I have to focus on just one at a time. So yeah, definitely fit. I'm sorry. What were you saying, Denny? I think you were saying something.
I was just gonna bring up in the chat. We had somebody that asked a question about you know, who inspired you, if there was someone that got you kind of started on your journey when it came to the YouTube end.
Oh yeah, that's my that was the friend I was talking about earlier. That's my boy Joey Pokemon MD. He got me into he's the one that got me into YouTube. So like we were playing. I'll tell you the story of how we met in the first place. Is we were on the battle ladder online. That's where they have like, you know, where you can build your team and everything like that. And so I was running like a Feraligatr team, and it's a really good Pokemon in the rain, especially with the water boosting. So rain boosts water moves. So I was running a Swords Dance Feraligatr in rain, and I believe I was playing, and I ran into Joey on the ladder, and so Joey, I think, was recording with one of his friends. They both were kind of like, but I think there was 3 of them in the call or something together. They were doing a recording. He was already a YouTuber back then, and I was able to sweep them with Feraligatr. I was able to just, you know, win the game. And there were a lot of people watching that game too, because the people that were there, they knew me, but they also knew them, I guess, as well, or maybe they just were watching for me. Who knows? But you know, then he was like, "Oh, who's that guy?" And then they're like, "That's Emvee." They're like, "Oh, Emvee. I need to meet that guy." So we got in call together. We built a team together, and then he was like, "You should get into YouTube." And we got into YouTube.
That's what's up, you know. I like seeing that kind of community connection there, where like you get some solid competition and competitors, and then folks get like, you know.
Oh yeah. We're all trying to grow together.
That's what's up, you know. You see a lot of that on the fighting game side as well. You know, you run into folks in competition, and then you're having conversations afterwards.
Yeah. Also, for everybody watching, just to give some context on the sunglasses, I am sick right now, and my eyes do show it. So I wear this to shine like the sun.
Yeah, everyone can spam emotes in chat. Give Emvee your energy. Hopefully you can recover quickly
Yeah,
here.
like some
That's
flu or
right.
something.
Well, I got to know. So everybody has a tag, unless you're me, then you're just Rod and you missed the boat on gamer tags. But where does your gamer tag come from? Is this final form Emvee? Was there ever like a pre-evolution form of Lord Emvee? Like maybe, I don't know, Citizen Envy? Was there like, before you were the Lord? Like, what's up?
Oh yeah, there's a nice story to that. I can tell you the story. I have it prepared for anyone that asks. It's all prepared. So,
Okay.
um, when I was a baby Emvee, before the final evolution Emvee, so my username online was, I think, like MV. So it started off because my favorite Pokemon was Metagross. Metagross had a metal X on its face, so my name was Metal X. That's how it started. People abbreviated that to MX for Metal X because it's abbreviated. Type it out. And then on most forums back in the day, this was 15 plus years ago, a long time ago,
Mhm.
um, probably even longer. So I added a V in between to sound cool, like MVX, to kind of like rolled off the
Oh.
tongue pretty well. People abbreviated that to MV, and then it's spelled out is MV. And then when I won my first one of these big tournament things, one of them was like, you got to add Lord in front of your name. So I mean, it's not self-proclaimed. The people wanted it, and I became Lord Envy.
Makes sense. Yeah,
I'm
always
here
good to
for
get
it,
some
man.
community feedback. Sure.
Yep.
Damn, I'm here for that. So, your journey on content creation, I think, there's a lot of people who play competitively who just can't quite figure out how esports works. And honestly, I don't blame them. Like, esports is still such a budding genre, and we don't really know what it's kind of budding into, or just really competitive gaming and, monetization. But what was like your first video? Because I know obviously YouTube is working out for you. I'd imagine there's other players at your level who can't quite figure out what you have done, the magic behind Lord Envy's social media stuff. So, like, what were some of your earliest videos like?
My very first video, if you sort my videos by oldest first, you'll see that my old video is a trolling video. And so what I would do is I would go into the battle. Everything back then was all kind of text oriented battle, stuff like that. I'd
Mhm.
copy a message saying, whoever my player's name is forfeited, you may close the window. I copy that, I pasted that in. People thought I forfeited the game and closed out of the window, and I'd win the game and I'd get ladder points.
Wow.
Oh, the Team Rocket, man. It's starting to show, brother. What is this about?
Yeah,
Like
so that one,
That's working smart.
So that got a lot of views, and then after that, I started like, okay, I'm just gonna like upload like battles and stuff like that. So my content was mainly focused on building teams and then just laddering up with them and making each team unique because there's so many different combinations of Pokemon and teams that you could do. So I would say like if somebody's trying to start out in content creation and is trying to get into the competitive Pokemon space, try to like the way to stand out is to make teams that first of all, people may find hard to like do themselves to make themselves. So if you can succeed with it, other people will want to watch you because they can follow a similar pattern of success. And um, I guess another tip is to use underrated Pokemon. A lot of people will see the same Pokemon over and over again, right? And it could be fun for some people, but then some people want to be like, okay, I would love to see my favorite Pokemon being used, kind of thing. And then if you use that, it's like, okay, that's really cool. That's how you build the community up. Is that if you're tailoring, if you like bring Pokemon that it's not just the same over and over, different ones, people don't even think that's gonna work. You do it, all of a sudden now people are going to be like, okay, let's go to this guy for what works, and kind of rely on that in that way. I think it's a great way to build it up overall. Just do things differently than
Yeah.
what everybody else is doing. You gotta stand
Yeah,
out from the crowd.
Yeah,
makes
a little
sense.
innovation never hurts.
Yeah.
I did have a question for you guys. Considering that we do have a brand new Pokemon game, and you guys have had a little bit of time to play through. I know you said you were finishing up on your end, but I wanted to know from both of you, what would you like to see that in the next iteration of Pokemon that didn't make it into this version, that you maybe were hoping to see pull up, in this game? Any kind of tweak or change, or even if it's just a new ability that might fill the gap or something that's not available currently. But you didn't see make the appearance here in the new games, but you would hope to see in another iteration of Pokemon down the line.
I mean, I always like seeing the roster be as big as it can be. I think there's around 400, maybe a little more in Scarlet and Violet. I think the more the merrier. I know they added some Sword and Shield post-launch, but I think it just opens things up from a competitive standpoint. The more Pokemon that are available, more options you have for making teams and such. And they still might add some more to Scarlet and Violet on the line. I think that'd be great. I think a lot of the seamless online stuff that they have is pretty dope. I'd love to see them maybe take that a step further with how some of the online stuff works. But I don't know. It's hard for me to put together a wish list right now outside of that.
Yeah. That's fair. You know, I mean, the game has only been out for so long, and I'm glad that you brought up the idea of adding things post launch, because with it being online, I mean, they could drop DLC and boom, completely flip the entire script. So it's a good point. What about you, Emvee? What are some of the things that you might want to see more of or less of in the next title, or hell, maybe even the current title that we're in right now?
Yeah, so for this game in particular, I did like the sort of more story. It felt more story oriented. I think this one had a better storyline than a lot of the other games. So I'd like for them to focus more on story. I think that's going to be a big part of the game going forward if they keep doing that, because it was nice. I enjoyed it a lot. I also would like to see Giovanni come back. Remember end of Sun and Moon, Ultra Sun and Moon? They got the Team Rocket stuff. Would like to see a continuation of that. He just fades away into the Ultra Wormhole. And thirdly, I would also like to see the return of Mamoswine. Mamoswine was not in this game, and it's a Pokemon that I hold very dear. Can I tell you the story?
No, you can't. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, please do. Please tell us the story.
Yeah.
All right. So, Mamoswine is a Pokemon that I really enjoyed using Generation 6 onwards. And the reason is because, or maybe it was 7, I'm not sure, but I've been enjoying using it a lot. And the reason is because I created a very powerful Mamoswine set. Let me explain you what I mean.
Okay.
So, this Mamoswine has the ability to tank every single attack. Every single one. Doesn't matter which one, but it will tank all of them. Now, I will read you my EV spread here.
I'm listening.
It has 112 HP EVs, 216 attack, 16 defense, 64 special defense, and 100 speed with an adamant nature. And I want you to take a guess what the moves are.
Dude, I don't even...
I assume you got to be going heavy into physical attack here, or some physical stuff. Do we have any Ice Fang in there? Thinking what things that the Mamoswine's got in its pool.
What makes the ground shake?
Earthquake?
It's got Earthquake.
That is physical. Yeah.
It's got 2 ice moves. 2 ice moves.
Ice Beam? Do you have Ice Beam in there? Or Icicle Crash?
Icicle Crash, yes. And one more.
Icicle Crash. Okay. Trying to think. Ice types are so offensive. They get a lot of good moves.
My favorite move of all time.
Is there an Ice Punch in there at all?
Nah, it can't punch with its feet.
Oh.
Yeah, it'd be a little tough for him.
Oh, damn, we lost him. Wait a minute. Where'd you go?
I think he dropped out. They were like, "You're telling too many strats here. Get him out of here."
All right, we're back.
Team Rocket got you.
They didn't want me revealing the last move. The last move is my favorite move. Rock Tomb.
Oh, you know what? Some people are asking about
this.
I
was.
Yep. I know somebody wanted me to say that.
Nice.
Yeah, so I would like for Mamoswine to come back. It's a good mon. It's not in currently, so so recently what they've been doing is Sword and Shield. Like ever since Sword and Shield, not all the Pokemon are in it. So each new generation, it seems that. So I don't really mind if all the Pokemon are in it or not. I do mind if the Pokemon I enjoy using in competitive are in it. And that was one that was not in it. Because I used to use that on a lot of my teams.
So how do you fill that void? I mean, Mamoswine, of course, is being such a pivotal part of like, your whole set play. Is there another Pokemon or maybe combination of Pokemon that can kind of take its place? Because it seems like you're running a very specific strategy with Mamoswine.
Yeah, so the essential role of it was to tank hits really well from all kinds of different Pokemon. And, even though it's not there, there's a lot of other new Pokemon and other Pokemon that can fill the role. Like, for example, most recently, we have a new kind of bulky ground type. Are you familiar with the Chinese legendaries?
I think so. Which one are you talking about?
There are 4 new legendaries in in the game, and they are Chinese legendaries. I won't give them any more details if you don't want to know anymore, but I can say more if it's not really a spoiler.
Yeah, I'm about to say at this point we've covered
out,
so
right?
much in Scarlet and Violet. There's no more spoilers. Trust me.
Okay, so yeah, there's a Pokemon called Tinglu.
Oh yes. Okay. Gotcha. Yep.
The dark ground type Pokemon. It sponges literally every hit. It has the bulk that feels close to Chinese Mamoswine. That's what I call it because it's a very, very bulky set.
I see.
Nice. So I haven't caught one of those yet, but I'm trying to right now actively. But kind of speaking to Scarlet and Violet, I'm curious if there are any other new Pokemon that you think are maybe underrated or really powerful that are kind of flying under the radar right now.
Yeah, absolutely. So definitely, I think the Fire Starter, Skeletors, the Fire Starter is one of the more underrated ones, I would say, right now. You don't see it used as often as a lot of the Paradox Pokemon. The Paradox Pokemon are being used a lot right now in competitive Pokemon, as well as the Chinese legendaries. They're being used quite a bit. We're also seeing, I think we're seeing. Do you remember the one Pokemon that was announced, Cyclizard?
Yeah,
It's like this. It was recently announced. So it basically, why it's so good, is that it has a move similar to U-turn, similar to like a move that kind of switches you out, like teleport switches you out, but it creates a substitute in the process. When you go for substitute, that little dummy pops up.
Oh yeah.
That little dummy pops up, and then you can't attack it unless you can't attack the Pokemon unless that breaks, kind of a thing. So it has a move that switches out, creates one of those dummies, and you can bring in another Pokemon, and they're behind the dummy. Otherwise, if you switch out, then it's faded away.
Wait,
I didn't even know about that. Okay.
The move called Shed Tail.
Oh,
And that's like a signature.
What was that?
No, sir.
Oh,
go ahead, Donovan. My apologies.
No, you're good. I was gonna say, is that it's a signature move? Is Cyclizard?
I think another Pokemon does have it. Yeah, another Pokemon does have it, but it is what it's known for. So you could pretty much say it's a signature move. A lot of the sets run it, and it's a very, very good Pokemon. I would say it looks like an underrated Pokemon, but it's super, super overrated. Not over, well, in a good way, as in it's used a lot. But I would say probably. See, I'm trying to see here. I think Cerulege is a pretty good one. That's pretty underrated. You don't see it a lot in usage right now because there's just so many more overpowered Pokemon. But like, I just recently I've been cooking up some teams with it, so I've been getting a video ready for that. It's a really, really good Pokemon, and its design looks so cool. Have you seen it, Cerulege?
Yeah, I think so.
It's got it's got like those blades wielding, and it's like that dark aura color kind of thing. That Pokemon is so cool.
One of my favorite designs from the new gen.
Oh yes, definitely. And I would say that Pokemon is pretty underrated because not a lot of people are using that right now.
Now, what do you think are absolutely broken? I know like there's a lot of underrated Pokemon that are still flying under the radar, and it makes sense. Like it's early meta right now. People are still kind of getting the feel for the game. I'm sure like with more events, standalone events that pop up, we'll get a better idea of like who can do what and when. But who are some Pokemon you feel like are overpowered right now? Not only because it's like early meta, but just because this character is busted.
Yeah. One of them I would say is I don't know if you're familiar with Fluttermane.
Mm-hmm.
That's the mischievous counterpart from the past.
Yeah, I
That
see you made some
yeah.
tweets about that.
Oh yeah, that Pokemon is broken. It's very very broken. It's a very powerful. It's very fast. It is Ghost and Fairy,
Mhm.
two of which are some of the most broken types in the game.
Mhm.
Obviously the cover legendaries are pretty good, but they're not in the same kind of tiered format that I play, so we don't have to worry about those. I would say that now this is not one of those paradox, not one of those legendaries, but
Mhm.
Annihilate is a
Really?
very, very broken Pokemon. And I'll tell you why.
Okay.
So it has a signature move called Rage Fist. Now, what this move does is each time you get hit by an attack, it starts at 50 power. Ghost type 50 power. Every single time you're hit, it increases by 50 every time you use it.
Ooh.
So let's say, for example, you get hit twice by a not very effective attack.
Mhm.
All of a sudden, Rage Fist power is 150. So it goes from 50 to 150. You can switch out. The power still stays when you come back in. You can faint. If you're revived, the power still stays when you come back in. And there's a move
Whoa.
actually called Revival Blessing, which is a new move. I think it's exclusive to one or two Pokemon.
Okay.
Palmot was one of the Pokemon that gets it. The early routes electric type. And so you use this move, and you can revive a fainted Pokemon.
My
And
God.
in competitive Pokemon, you can't use bag held items and all kinds of stuff like that. You can't use that.
Of
But you
course.
now have a revive in your hand, a max revive pretty much, or a revive. I'm not sure. I haven't used it
Do you
myself
think
yet.
do you think that'll get banned by any chance in VGC Revival Blessing? Or do you think that that'll just be a part of the new meta?
In VGC, I don't think they ban anything. From what I know, they have a certain ban set rule, I think, of for like the format like legendaries or whatever. But then they like different rule sets incorporate different things. That so I play like a tiered format where they will just ban whatever's broken.
Mhm.
So in terms of that, I feel like maybe depending on, I mean, so I don't think the mechanic is not implemented yet on the simulator that I play. But when it does get allowed, we're gonna have to figure out. I think it's gonna be pretty good or pretty broken, but you know, it's early to see. I think it's early to see because we haven't really seen much. We haven't really seen any competitive at all in terms of official VGC. So I'm curious to kind of see where, what's being used, where things go from here, and should be interesting.
Yeah, 100%. I'm very curious too, man, because I feel like they've done such a great job of like innovating the tournament experience. I've never been to like a Pokemon event myself, but just between speaking with you the few times we've chatted, and then of course I live with Max, so I'm anytime we're chilling, he has Showdown up. It seems like Pokemon is constantly pushing the edge and like where this game can go and what this game can be competitively. Really quick, are there any like, for the fans and the viewers out there, are there any events that you might be pulling up to? I know like the YouTuber Pokemon meta is kind of like we just kind of stay in the shadows and we do our things at home, and then when we step out, we beat ass and then we come back home. Are you going anything anytime soon?
I have like just regular vacation trips planned. In terms of like events and stuff like that, I do want to aim to go to Japan Pokemon Worlds. I think that's gonna be a lot of fun. I've never been to Japan. It is on my bucket list in terms of countries that I need to go to see. I've never been there before, and so that would be a really good opportunity to actually like not only just go there to hang out with people, but also experience the culture and all kinds of fun stuff. And so that's one place. And the food is really good too. I love Japanese food.
Mhm.
I think also at some point I do want to go to Spain if they actually have something there. But I think they didn't have Pokemon Worlds in Spain due to gambling laws or something where they don't allow that to partake. But I think I'll also probably just go to. So I went to PAX East with a bunch of friends um, this year in I think what was it, May or something, or April, May, or around that time they had like
Right.
PAX East, and then so I think I'll probably do that this time around as well. It was pretty fun. Got to hang out with people, and in terms of other events, maybe if there's something close by, I'll go. I gotta say, like for me, I gotta say vacation time because I got that main job PTO that I gotta save up. So
No, I hear you on that. I hear you on that. Now, real quick, before we all disperse, I got to know, and I am judging. All right, so you better answer this question wisely. This is for everybody here.
Sure.
It's everybody's favorite Pokemon game. We'll start with you, Lord Emvee. What's your favorite one? And you can give me some reasons as to why.
Favorite one. Okay, can be anything, right?
Anything.
Pokemon Colosseum and Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness.
Ooh, Gale of Darkness.
Okay.
So good.
Yeah. Reasoning, of course, is that it's a completely different spin on Pokemon, right? It's a completely different spin. You were able to essentially steal people's Pokemon, so Team Rocket into consideration right there. And I think it's a really interesting take. There was cool villains, right? The villains were really cool in that game. And there was two separate, I guess, branches of villains there. Not just one. There was two. There was the Team Snag'em and Team Cypher.
Yep.
And it's all about, and Snag'em Cypher. It's all about stealing, right? It's all about like the channeling that bad boy. So I think that's pretty fun.
Dude, he was the baddest of all the ass. Like, let's be real. He pulled up with the Erskine and Umbreon fresh out the gate.
Yo.
By Gen 3 standards, like coming in from Ruby and Sapphire, I was like, you can do these Pokemon here? Wait a minute. Like, they exist here? And he pulled up and he got the job done. And in that game, you got Ho-Oh too, which was awesome. If it was a Battle Tower, if you do all 100, you get the free Ho at the end.
Exactly. You see, those two games, you get a free Ho-Oh and you get a free Lugia, and you get to trade them in.
You don't even need any mystery tickets or anything. You could just buy Coliseum and then you got Jirachi the Wishmaker bonus disc, which was beautiful. So
exactly. So I love those games, and I love like how you could connect those games. I feel like those games were ahead of its time. Think about it, right? This was like at the same point in time when there was Ruby and Sapphire, Emerald, Fire Red, Leaf Green, and then you have this like Pokemon Colosseum and XD on the big screen, right? On the GameCube, you playing that like, I really wish that they have some kind of a port or something, or like they make maybe a redefined or whatever edition for the Switch. That would be amazing.
Yeah, I would love to see that, man. Pokemon, I'm gonna be real. I like the new stuff. This could maybe be like the inner boomer of me coming out. I don't know, but like, XD and Coliseum were different, man, and like they still hit the same, but it was just a different experience, like as it was happening in that generation. So kudos to you on that one. You made the cut. Alrighty, gentlemen, Denny and Donovan, what are your guys' favorite Pokemon games? You're on the Shacknews chopping block.
Yeah, you see, with me, it all goes back to a lot of my nostalgia growing up as a kid. So I got to go. Pokemon Platinum was a huge one for me. Just put so many hours into that game. In the mid 2000s, I think that was. Love the Sinnoh region. Infernape's my favorite Pokemon. He was the fire starter there.
Did you catch him Amazon?
I don't think I did. I don't think I did back then. I was too tunnel visioned. I was back when I'd use like 3 Pokemon, and that was just it. I was too immature. And then a spinoff for you, Mystery Dungeon Explorers of Sky.
Ooh, respectable.
Love the Mystery Dungeon games. I think they're so underrated, like story-wise. Like Scarlet Violet has a great story, but it wasn't until recent that Pokemon games started having really good stories. But Mystery Dungeon was doing it like 12 years ago. So
Explorers of Darkness is my favorite Mystery Dungeon game.
So good.
Yeah, that's beautiful, man. Yeah, Gen 4 gets kind of dunked on a lot, but I thought like, that Diamond, Pearl, Platinum, that was awesome. And then of course, like the innovative approach to it with it being on the DS was that you could put the Game Boy Advance games up in the bottom of them, and then you got the Poke Park thing and everything. Like, that was amazing. Now, I, at that point in time in my life, couldn't afford a Nintendo DS, so I was still rocking the Gen 3 stuff, and my buddies had the DS that they got for Christmas, and they were kind of explaining to me how that all goes down, and I'm like, damn, man, Pokemon is not letting up in the innovation department. Like, milk and cereal, peanut butter and jelly, Pokemon and handhelds, like, those 3 right there are the combos. Yo, big shout out to you on that one, Donovan. Now, Denny, my partner in crime, what's your favorite Pokemon game, man?
Well, I mean, for me, Consider I probably played the least amount of hours in the Pokemon out of this group. I still go with the OGs because OG one, red, blue, and yellow. Like, mainly because I put a lot of hours into that game originally. And then the original, 150 or 151 takes me back to, my old N64 days when I used to actually have, the expansion pack and roll with, Pokemon Stadium and such and all that stuff back in the day. It was a different time for me where I actually had the freedom to be able to play Pokemon and not have to, work a job. So,
I should,
a lot of that is...
I should probably actually go and play the original games because I've never played them.
I just thought about that.
I started with Gen 3 and I was like, okay, this Gen 3, that's where it starts. Like I didn't go backwards. I only went forwards.
Well, the funny thing about Gen 3 was that was supposed to be like a hard reboot of the franchise, which is why there's very few, Kanto and Johto Pokemon in the regular home index, and it wasn't until, of course, Emerald and Fire Red and Leaf Green came out that they, expanded it. So, Ruby and Sapphire for me, I'm gonna put myself on the chopping block. Now, I'm a Gen 3 guy through and through. Now, I played them all, from Red, Blue, and Yellow, both the Pokemon Stadiums, Gold, Silver, Crystal, all that. But I think it was Gen 3 that really brought me and my siblings together because I ended up getting Pokemon Ruby for my birthday in 2000.
My first game.
Yeah, so I ended up getting that one. And then my brother got Sapphire because him and I had always... It was tough for us to sync up on the same Pokemon games, which is weird. You would think the more siblings you have, the better. But we finally synced up. Then my sisters got Fire Red and Leaf Green. I got Coliseum for my birthday. He got XD. And then when I went from 6th grade to 7th grade, for some reason, my elementary school was like, we should do a graduation ceremony. And I'm like, okay. But it gave my parents an excuse to buy the Emerald version. And that right there really opened up the door for me. So really Pokemon Generation 3, but it's always the one-off games that I love the most. So Special Pikachu Edition, Crystal version, Emerald. I'm just a weirdo, man. I let them have the first two, and then I always go in and, jump on the third one. So Gen 3, but specifically Crystal and Emerald are my favorites because, Rayquaza is such a badass. And then we had the Battle Frontier for the first time, and that really opened up my eyes on how to battle for real. Because, I had never got manhandled by the computer like that before. I was pulling up with Groudon, yo, fissure, boom, dead. I was killing people in 1-2 hits. I pull up to the Battle Frontier, and the AI, they actually knew how to, counteract that. And that opened up my world a little bit. So, yeah, Gen 3 for the win for me.
Have you seen what a shiny Rayquaza looks like?
He's black and gray, ain't he?
Isn't that pretty cool?
Yeah, he's a badass. Yeah,
the color scheme, that shiny color scheme is just so nice.
Mm-hmm.
One of the best.
Yeah.
Definitely. That was some beautiful stuff. Well, hey, man, really quick while we got you still, there's a lot of people in the chat here who have pulled up to see you. Twitch chat, really quick before we let Lord Emvee go. Do you guys got any questions for him? I mean, it's not very often that we can summon our Lord Emvee to pull up to the show. So if you got something you want to get off your chest, let's get it now.
Yeah, I'll take some questions.
Let me scroll back up and see, because there was a few questions from earlier. Oh, say Issa. You know her. Big shout out to her. Issa, that's the number one homie right there. She said that one time Emvee taught me how to beat people with the Torchic. Is this story true? Did you teach her how to beat people with the Torchic?
This was a long time ago. I think I made a team or helped her build a team or something, and then we laddered something. We beat some people with Torchic. Yeah, it was fun. It was a good time.
Wait a minute. Now, wait a damn minute, Mr. Emvee. How did you even pull that one off?
I think, if I remember correctly, I think Torchic has speed boost or something back then, and then I gave it Fire Blast or something like that. Basically, long story short, any Pokemon, literally any Pokemon, I got you.
Wait, how does Torchic learn Fire Blast? Is that a thing?
Essentially, if you just don't evolve them, they'll keep learning moves.
Oh, you're right. They don't have to be Blaziken to learn Fire Blast. Those are basic. Now, low kick and moves like that, Torchic probably can't learn.
Torchic probably can't Sky Uppercut or close combat or beat people up with its fist, but it can spit fire.
True. Okay. Yeah. Now there's another one. Neophyte_DQT says, are there any chances of Draft League or in-game Wi-Fi battles in Scarlet and Violet?
Yes, I think first, I mean, the game just dropped. We're going to be doing a lot of content, going over the new Pokemon and just doing videos, and particularly with laddering up with Pokemon and showing them off and things like that. And then I think after a while, of course, I think that some draft stuff is going to happen most likely. It will be pretty fun to do that over Wi-Fi, though. I think one thing, yeah, I guess to go back to a previous question of one thing that I would like to be changed is the battle timer. So I play singles battles, so singles draft on Wi-Fi. You can't get away with having a timer being only 20 minutes. Like the game goes longer usually. In VGC, it's fine because you're bringing 6 Pokemon, but you're choosing 4 and you're sending out 2 at a time. Games go a lot quicker. In singles, you have 6v6, 6 Pokemon team of 6 versus 6, sending out 1 at a time. It takes longer, and so having games end to timer is one of the reasons why I stopped doing draft for Sword and Shield. So I feel like I'll do at least one draft for this generation. But yeah, the timer is going to be an issue. But they actually nerfed things such as like recovery moves. Recover would have, I think, like 15 total or something like that. Now it's like been dropped to 5.
Wow.
So this means that people can't just keep spamming recover over and over, and the games would go quicker in that way. But a lot of teams now are more offensively styled than defensively styled. So that would be it would be good. I'll probably do draft again at some point in time, but a little bit later because the game just dropped. I want to continue with the fun content on my channel right now.
Yeah, that was one thing Max brought up. He said he felt like the new game was a little bit more offensively charged than what he's seen in some of the previous installments. And, depending on who you ask, I mean, we know Pokemon is supposed to be a bit of a slow motion game at its highest level competitively. But to see it, I don't want to say devolve, but kind of shift into more of an aggressive style gameplay is kind of weird to see. Like, I never thought that we kind of get to this point,
Yeah, tell Max to hit me up. We'll build some teams and stuff like that too. If you're also there, we can all build teams together.
Yeah, I'm super here for it. So as we let you go ahead and plug yourself. I know you're on all socials, but I think it hits better, when it comes from your mouth instead of us in the Twitch chat.
Absolutely. Lord Emvee on YouTube. Actually my username before when I first made my YouTube channel was 3MV33. It's like MV but like with the 3s. So that's what I am on like as for my URL on YouTube, on Twitter. And yeah, check me out, follow me there, and there's a lot of heat content, a lot of fun content and stuff like that with the games. If you want to really be like if you want to get your game up, definitely follow me. And if you want to beat your neighbors, beat your friends, and who knows, maybe even compete, I got you.
Nice.
Okay. Beautiful, man. And Mr. Donovan Erskine, I mean, I know where to find you. Danny knows where to find you. But for those of us out there that, might not be up to speed with your work, where do we find you at as well?
Yeah, man. On Twitter at Donimals_, and then on Shacknews, writing articles, popping up on shows. That's about it for me.
Beautiful, yo. Hey, both of you wonderful gentlemen, thank you for pulling up on Danny and I, man. It's an absolute pleasure and honor answering all of my super casual noob questions with the most obvious answers ever. But hey, I'm still learning, okay? All right, I'm going to get my Pokemon lab coat one of these days. And I guess before I get that, I just got to keep bugging you guys and asking you guys questions about how it goes down.
It's never too late.
Always got you, brother. Always got you.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Alrighty, gentlemen. Well, thank you for pulling up, man. We're going to continue with the rest of the show. We're going to talk some fighting games. We like to press those types of buttons too. I mean, if you guys want to keep kicking it, you're more than welcome to. But I know you both are probably very busy gentlemen.
Yeah, I got some things to do right now. Got to cook dinner too.
Yeah, have some food. Hopefully you feel better. Happy
Thank
holiday
you.
as well.
Yep. Happy holidays. Happy Thanksgiving. Have a great one, guys. And thanks for having me once again.
No doubt. We'll see you guys.
Peace.
Out.
Well, this is a good time for us to, get some plugs in for what we do here at Shacknews as well. Because, of course, you can catch plenty of awesome content on the actual website at shacknews.com. Plenty of good news stories going out. And some things we'll be pulling in the show, like some Good Gear news that just went live not too long ago. And of course, you can feel free to follow us on social media and such. Twitter at Shacknews, Instagram at Shacknews Media, and even over on Facebook. I'm running most of those accounts, so if you want to show some love, feel free to come through for some of that action. And then, of course, we've got YouTube, which is always popping. There's plenty of actual Pokemon content over there, too. Recently, thanks to a full-blown review from Donovan, who just left, and Greg Burke, who's doing some narration over there as well. But we got some more content coming up pretty soon that you look forward to, and some more reviews as well. And, of course, we can't forget about Shack Pets, which will be getting some fun updates pretty soon here, later on this week. Feel free to check out the extra mobile apps, get in those downloads and swipes, and maybe your pet will be featured on our own Shack Pets, website, social media, and other places. So give it a try if you got the time.
That's right. Pull up. All right, friends. There still might be some Pokemon lurkers out here. I know Issa, she brought up Torchic. That's one of my favorite Pokemon. I really like most of the small little cute Pokemon from Gen 3. Now, of course, Pokemon don't exist in real life, but we do have wonderful little animals that, will attack if provoked, but they don't shoot fire. So, if you like those types of animals, you like getting down like that, then, of course, download Shack Pets. It's the ultimate battle for cuteness. It's literally my cute animal versus your cute animal. And they don't actually really have to fight. This is a figurative fight. We just choose and pick and vote for who is cuter than two Pokemon, and then we just go about our day. All right, friends? So pull up on us. That's right. Keep it cute or keep it on mute, all right? Let's go ahead and get it with the rest of the show. Now, we got to talk, of course, about this wonderful community that Denny and I really, really love a lot. And that's the fighting game community, Denny. And if I'm not mistaken, a lot of good shit just went down over the weekend. Am I tripping?
Well, I mean, of course, there was major moves at DreamHack with a majority of games between Street Fighter, Guilty Gear, and the usual, and some really good gameplay. Had a good time watching some of that content across the Tekken realm, but also Street Fighter. Another solid showing with some of the other content there. I think overall, fighting games in general are going out strong towards the end of the year. There's some high-level gameplay, and also just a nice amount of variety as far as like who's actually showing up and placing at some of these events currently. So I feel like people, to be honest, I think that with the companies coming in the way they have and just really committing to showing, hey, we're going to be making some big moves in 2023, I think it's gotten the player base excited as well to kind of step up and start, showing out a bit more towards the end of the year compared to, when COVID and some other things were raging a lot harder, it was getting a little bit hard to kind of keep some of that momentum going for some folks who, have to make some of those decisions about traveling. Hey, if I'm not making top 8, is it really worth the investment to be coming out here and still putting up that kind of, money to travel and such? But it seems like it's starting to pay off again as we head towards the last couple weeks of 2022.
Yeah, and I'm also glad, too, that DreamHack started to get that recognition it deserves. I felt like, I kind of found out about DreamHack because, and I know we'll talk about Melee later a little bit more in depth, but Melee was always featured at a lot of the DreamHacks across the ocean. Now, these events were traditionally European-style things where, like, they would run, of course, the traditional esports stuff, like, CSGO, they'd run League of Legends and things as such, but they would also run a pretty decent Melee bracket, which I think was thanks to the workings of Armada and Gimmer, ? I think that's how that lore goes, but as I became more hip to them, they came over to the States, and I'm like, oh, man, this is amazing. I would love to see Street Fighter and Tekken and events like that there. And, of course, they had already beat me to the swing on that. I'm so glad that, people are starting to put more eyes on this because there's a lot of money involved, which I know it's a big deal in the fighting game community, but it's also not a big deal because there are some people who are, playing for the glory, like is what we see here with a lot of these Street Fighter 5 and like Tekken 7 players who are, like you said, trying to, go out strong. But, I think the money is just kind of the cherry on top. Like DreamHack is not short in the money department. And I'm surprised that even as much as we, cover these DreamHacks across the States, they just don't have more eyes on them in general. Like PAX, of course, there's a lot of foot traffic, slightly different environment because PAX is not a competitive, space. But like DreamHack has a pretty big exhibitor area, a lot to do, a lot of things to try. And the tournaments are done very tastefully, especially the fighting game area with Jabali and Tong leading that charge. I'd like to see more people pull up, Denny. You got to come to DreamHack. What's up, friends? Y'all got to go.
Yeah, I mean, I do have, we have to give credit, of course, to Jabali and the work he's been putting in, to get that side of things rolling, especially with the fighting game community and stuff. I mean, DreamHack in general, you're talking like your StarCraft, and more of those type of, titles getting a huge, scene and push there. So, I mean, there's a different crowd that are pulling up for a DreamHack just based off of what's being promoted over the history of what the event is. So I think fighting games kind of moving into that space is great, but it's going to take some time to kind of get more of that transition in. I think that, with the things going down the way it has in Atlanta and stuff like that, there's definitely a room for some solid growth here. I think from the community standpoint and just like the overall level of presentation, professionalism, and all those things, coming together in the right way. There's definitely a bright future, I think, for what DreamHack could be on the FGC side moving forward. I'm curious to see if there's adjustments made or on the actual company side, from places like Capcom and stuff like that, to maybe taking into consideration DreamHack and stuff like that moving forward into the next year.
I remember, bumping into Steve and some of those guys at, like DreamHack Atlanta and Austin specifically in like 2017 and 18. I think both may have been, pro tour stops, but, I guess it's just never safe to assume, you know what I mean? Like as nice of a company as DreamHack is, and with the get shit done attitude that I think Capcom has with Street Fighter 6, it'd be in its best interest to pull up to DreamHack, but I wouldn't be surprised if they decided to like maybe back off and like, focus more on like the grassroots tournaments. But I think DreamHack is a good environment for a game like Street Fighter 6. Like I think with the whole, just with the artistic approach that Street Fighter 6 is taking and with how DreamHack kind of allows you to cosplay, create more interactive areas and booths, could be a good opportunity for Street Fighter and Tekken 8 to, take an innovative approach here to DreamHack in the future.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's what I'm saying. I mean, I know that there's been history before of some of the fighting game crowd getting involved, but I think if it actually were to take the next step a bit higher, with it you're seeing like the Smash tourneys and such. But I think that like with Jabali involved and the folks that are involved now, it's a good time to kind of get into some more of that kind of transitioning to it becoming maybe a staple for some of that mix. I feel like, you got the people like Yipes out here who could pull up and be part of a Street Fighter, competition, but also get a squad together for some COD, Some of that crossover appeal could also appeal to a lot of folks who are playing fighters. I have plenty of friends who are, putting the work on your battlefields or, your Dotas and such, and also still pulling up for, some competitive Tekken or whatever. And there's a lot of people out there who are like that. They like their shooters or, other games and can play at a high level. And I think that a lot of times people think that because you are highly skilled in one particular area that you can't be in another. And I like to see more crossover kind of, competitive players get that big stage where they can both say, hey, I'm making content, I'm a content creator. I'm also, playing at a high level, in Tekken or Street Fighter, and I'm also able to play at a high level in a team-based, game at the same time. Because if you look at it from that standpoint, with the way that esports, sponsorships and stuff go, if you got a player that can be sponsored by an esports org and can also compete in more than one game, it looks pretty good for the actual esport, and the org. You look at, Evil Geniuses, for example, or, with Sonic Fox and how many games he competes for, on the FGC standpoint. But imagine if he would have just crossed over and actually do well in some other, brand of game. You get a lot of crossover appeal that might bring people into some different spaces.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with that. There aren't very many events out there, at least at the level of DreamHack's capabilities, that can run all these games simultaneously and let the attendees and or the viewers really peek in, to what some of the other games are doing. Like, when we go to Combo Breaker, it's like, all right, I'm in the Smash area, I'm in the Tekken area, but let me go see what Dragon Ball's doing. Let me go see what the arcade area is doing. And everything is still kind of, condensed down to the realm of fighting games, which is still beautiful. But, DreamHack kind of takes it a step further, where it's like, yeah, we got fighting games here, and they're done up tastefully thanks to Jabali and Tong. But if you want to peek over to League of Legends or CS:GO or something, we got you covered in that regard. Now, I got the Tekken stuff pulled up right here, and it looks like for grand finals we had ourselves a team kill, unfortunately. But at least you know, two people of the same team that held down the fort for Atlanta. Looks like Shadow 20Z ran Zafina, and the opponent here is Junia 20Z, and they ran Eliza. So it was a clean 3-0, by the way. It definitely looked like he Shadows 20Z knew exactly what he was doing, because I'm gonna be real, I even struggle versus Zafina. I don't know, bro. She started changing stances, and my ass is in trouble. Like, what is she doing?
Yeah, plus, Shadow's Savina is pretty strong in general anyway, so you're going to have a hard time just based off of, what he's able to do. But, yeah, I mean, looking pretty good. With I didn't get to watch Grand Finals, but I did watch some of the earlier play, and I also did watch some of what they were doing on pools, and Shadows was pretty consistent for a majority of the tourney overall. So not surprising here, but I think that there's just a nice period happening right now with some of the Tekken competitive play where folks are both leveling up and trying to get those W's in. Uncertainty on when we're going to get Tekken 8, but I think that the thought that there is Tekken 8 around the corner at some point is getting some of that energy to kind of come across when it comes to the competitive side of things too.
Yeah, I think it's good too, and I think to have 2 games on the circuit, or 2 games at DreamHack Atlanta, like Street Fighter, Tekken, or even Guilty Gear, alongside Smash. I think Smash could definitely take a lot of notes from what the Tekken community and the Street Fighter community specifically are bringing to the table. Like, there is no circuit, there is no real anything right now. We're taking it all the way back, where we're just traveling around and just playing for pride. And I guess, can't take anything away from Smash. Of course, we've been doing that for the last, I guess for Melee's sake, 21 years now. It's been 21 years. But yeah, man, when a new game comes out, this is how you handle it. You keep playing the old game. Keep playing the old game, stay sharp. Yes, the mechanics may change. There might be some differences in the new title. But what do you lose by sharpening your skills and playing the title that's available right now? I don't think you lose anything. If anything, you go into the new game warmed up, a lot of momentum from what you've been doing these last so many months in preparation for the new title. And it's just a better mindset and mentality to keep,
Yeah, I mean, there's also the fact that, from a, sponsorship standpoint, keeping yourself relevant, name-wise and, in those highlights and spotlights and such is a good way to kind of start the new year as we head towards new competitive, play down the line. You want to be one of those names who's winning things recently. And so that definitely becomes a strategy for some folks who want to, participate. And of course, some people just hop on and they play because it's local. There are plenty of people that come through because of, the event being in Atlanta or, just being somewhere they can easily travel right now. In comparison, I don't know how things would go if it was, say, in Jersey or New York right now in comparison, with the kind of weather people have been getting out there. So just having a pretty solid weekend for some good fighting game action, and also, it being where it is definitely helps in that regard too. Plus, there were a lot of things that are going on in town recently too. They had some anime conventions and stuff like that. So the city was probably just popping. So yeah, I think it's a good kind of mainstay right now for having DreamHack where it is. I'm glad that there's some solid turnout and people seem to be taking it seriously as well with pulling up for competitive play.
Yeah, 100%, bro. We also had so of course, DreamHack, they're going to run pretty much every game under the sun. They're going to run things like they know are going to get people in the door. And then, of course, they're going to have attractions that are going to get casual people in and having fun and exhibiting and turning those casual people into the esports competitors of tomorrow. But just looking at it from the scope of the fighting game community, we also had a tournament up in Saskatchewan called Path to Glory. Now, there's always the age-old narrative and topic of don't Smashers care about money? Now, given the history of these last so many years, it's really hard to tell what Smashers care about. Now, I was always in a camp of believing, Denny, that we need money. we want to play for money. But after seeing 3 tournaments on the same day give you 3 different things, or same weekend rather, I'm more in the camp of believing that it's not only the idea of making money, but it's the conveniency behind making the money as well. So you have DreamHack Atlanta 2022 that's happening in Atlanta, which is a very hard destination to turn down. Unless you absolutely have to, I always recommend people not turning that down and going. That served as the final in-person stop for the Panda Cup, which I believe we had Anathema and Apollo Kage for Ultimate. They qualified, and then of course we've had, I can't remember the Melee individuals. I believe Kobo and Mewtwo King qualified. So big shout out to them, of course. And then of course up here in Jersey, just right in my backyard, literally 20 minutes away from where I'm at, we had Apex 2022, a tournament that hasn't been ran since, I'm going to say 2015, even though there was a 2016 one. We don't talk about that. It's been quite a bit of time, and that was a big W, of course, for New Jersey. We had Jackal, who is the one that everybody wanted to win. And then we had a gentleman by the name of Mia, who came all the way over from Japan and won the whole thing going Game & Watch. But there's a tournament up in the Great White North called Path to Glory that I believe had $50,000 in pot bonus prize pooling. And nobody from America really pulled up to this. Now, of course, there were some people up there who were a little upset about this. Like, we always say we want money. I believe it was my buddy Mason. He said, don't people want money? Like, what's up? Like, we ran this big ass tournament. What's good? But I also want people to take into consideration this. New Jersey is very close to New York. There's like 3 international airports out here, much cheaper to fly into. And we have Atlanta, a Delta hub. And also, it's Atlanta. There's black people there. I'm probably going to go to Atlanta if I had the choice. Great eating, wonderful food. Might be a little warmer down there. It is the South. Canada, I hold near and dear to my heart, but it's goddamn cold in Canada, and I would imagine flying into Saskatchewan might be a little difficult. And also, Denny, Path to Glory isn't on either of the 2 circuits. So as a Smash professional player who's still trying to qualify for December finals, what incentive do I have to go to Path to Glory? I mean, it's a beautiful event. A lot of money, but
I feel like the title Path to Glory at the end of the year is a little bit disingenuous. I feel like that if you're the path to something, you should be closer to the beginning of the season, I feel like, than the end. But maybe that's just me. But I mean, of course, playing for money, $50,000 obviously is definitely a big ass check. So I understand that aspect of it, but you have to also take it into context. Like you mentioned, this is Canada. It's Canada in the fall, and it's not part of either tour. I feel like they have the right idea with involving cash money. But if you're going to compete with Smash qualifying events, maybe you should do that earlier in the year. And also, it's Canada, so I feel like Canada in fall/winter compared to Canada in summertime or even spring. Two different conversations, it's going to be different there because that's just how it is. Also, we're still coming out of a pandemic season, and there's different regulations out there than there is for America as far as what's required, mask-wise or not, and stuff like that. Also, getting back and forth if you're not on the East Coast. There's a lot of different things involved there. Whereas, like, if it had been like maybe an emptier weekend, you might have gotten a different turnout. So I can understand there being some frustration there, but at the same time, sometimes it's not just the money that talks. Especially in the situation where you've got these factors stacking up against each other, and you also have to just deal with regular burnout. Like the fact that it's happening this late into the competitive season. It's hard. It's hard to go through that when you have to pick and choose between 3 different events, whether you're going to go or not. And also, some people might just be honest with themselves. If am I really going to make it? High enough up that ladder to make that prize money a thing? Is it worth me traveling out to Canada in comparison to something that might be way easier to get to in local? For an opportunity to play this far in and maybe get some points to keep myself alive in the Smash Tour or whatever. Those are all things that people think about, more than just the money.
Yeah, and I think people. I want us to, not you, but like I want people to be realistic with themselves as well. Like I think I'm a big advocate for Canada. Like I go multiple times a year. Like I love the scene, I love the food up there. But the issue is that, and there are some things I think we're really working against Path to Glory. First and foremost, they couldn't change the date because the tournament itself was connected to a bigger festival that doesn't, really operate in the realm of the fighting game community. So they're just a little out of the loop on dates, which, in their defense, kind of hard to come by in the Smash community. So that's not exactly their fault. But
Yeah.
if I'm a top player, and I'm glad you actually brought the idea of like esports and some things like this is my job. In my heart, maybe I wanted to go to Path to Glory. Maybe I wanted to pull up to the Great White North and kick it, but I got a sponsorship. I'm trying to qualify, or maybe I'm trying to, get warmed up in the most competitive environment. Saskatchewan, I'm sure they have a beautiful scene up there. But like, if I'm trying to stay sharp and I'm trying to qualify, I'm going to go to Atlanta and Jersey, which are historically two very beautiful areas for fighting games, period. Like, if you want to get good, you need to go to the dirty South, or you need to pull up to somewhere in tri-state and start practicing. And there's just a lot of just unfortunate factors. But hopefully, though, for next year, SKL Esports and whoever else had a helping hand in that event can definitely move the data around, or maybe just, if not, get with Gamer, get with Panda, and try to pinpoint weekends where they can run something like this. If not with that festival it was attached to, maybe by itself, because bro, 50K is hard to ignore. And best believe if I'm ignoring it, or like at least not going to it, is for a good reason. Maybe I don't know the TOs. We've seen this happen before in Smash with like a tournament called UGC Smash Open, where like we were kind of hesitant on pulling up until we seen Baron Vasev were the TOs, and then that's when registration opened up a little bit more. So
there's
a
still
lot of
a reputation that comes into things as well that people take for granted sometimes when it comes to people actually moving out and making moves to an event. I mean, you can't just ignore some of those factors, but at the same time, like we've said for every episode so far in the past couple of months, there also needs to be less events. I don't need it to be 3 or 4 events running at the same time on the same weekend in general, especially this late in the season. That's crazy talk, especially when people already have different things going on between work, traveling for holidays, everything else going through, and then you still got stuff after this, moving into the winter. Like, come on, like it's getting pretty. Even if you happen to be lucky enough to be sponsored, that's still a major strain. And if you are, qualifying for the cup and everything else, like, when do you have downtime to start preparing yourself mentally and stuff like that beyond just like the overall practice and keeping yourself sharp, amongst your teammates or whatever? At some point, there's got to be some kind of time period where you're actually prepping for that. Like, and it's not just, do I show up for another major event or do I chill?
true.
But it's kind of ridiculous.
It is absolutely re-goddamn ridiculous. Smash community, get your scheduling shit together. Sincerely, tired, 6 foot tall, 29-year-old black man who commentates for all the tournaments. Let's slow it down a little bit, but let's actually speed things forward really quick. Now we have Multiverses Fall Showdown. Yes, Multiverses is still alive and is doing really well. They just added Marvin the Martian, and there's been a Game of Thrones reveal as well. Denny, as I would imagine a fan of both of those IPs, what are your thoughts on this, bro?
Yeah, I mean, there was a couple of things, with Multiverses this time around. They had the recent reveal of Marvin the Martian over the weekend, but he actually dropped today, a couple hours ago. So folks that got their hands on him started putting in the work, showing off some of the content. Of course, our own Buddy the Cat, has been already putting together his own Marvin the Martian, breakdown,
Yes,
moveset,
sir.
stuff like that, which has been pretty fun to see. Brandy perks, those kind of things as well for the character. I think it was pretty cool. Overall, I think Marvin it's a little bit strange to me as far as like the way the character is being released and like the time frame.
Sure.
But at the same time, it seems like they're using it kind of as a way to keep people excited while they work out the kinks with the overall gameplay. Both tweaks and just making different decisions and tweaking the game as something they want to make into the final quality product that they think it should be. That being said, I'm also like, why release the game as a full game, as you say it, and then There's so much work being done behind the scenes to make it really what you want it to be. And I think that comes off like, more than it should right now. Maybe because there hasn't been as much to kind of distract you from that outside of just dropping more characters and packs and skins and such. But I think like that might change more if there's more of a competitive scene, which we'll talk about next because there was a major tournament both in the EU and North and East, which we'll get into in a little bit. But Marvin as a character, not a bad choice. I think it's he's got some solid options with the ray gun and such. Pretty cool, and just definitely other characters out there I think I would rather have right now. But at the same time, getting some classic Looney Tunes energy is never a bad idea in my opinion.
I don't think so either, and I think it's lets the people out there know who like multiverse that hey, Looney Tunes still has a firm grasp on like what we see in a game like Multiverse. Yes, these are Warner Bros. IPs, but a lot of these characters, we've grew up and loved them on Cartoon Network, and I think the only two that were in the game before Marvin were just Bugs and Taz, if I'm not mistaken. So it's nice to see Marvin in there. He's kind of I'm not going to say a deep cut. He's not a deep cut. He's just one of those characters where I don't exist in every episode, but when I'm on screen, I steal the show. I mean, we see it in traditional Looney Tunes. We see it in Space Jam. Like, he has a million quotables, and he's amazing. Yeah, I like it. I think, he brings something a little bit different to the meta. And, with all these tournaments like we're getting ready to talk about here, they're getting ready to go down. He'll just, be really fun to see on screen. We even ran a multiverse tournament, I believe, at Apex. I think it got ran. Big shout out, of course, to Sharpie and everybody else who got a helping hand in that. So we get more people like that on the back end of things, running more events. We're going to see some more Marvin, bro. I'm excited.
Yeah, I mean, Sharpie did a good job, and she also was co-commentating the EU Fall Showdown as well, which we'll talk about in a minute. So she's been putting in the work on the multiverses front. But yeah, Marvin, I think, looks pretty interesting. I mean, he's going to be definitely a projectile character. I did see that he has like an ability where he can actually like retract different projectiles and send them back towards people. So like, that's pretty cool. It's also like, when he retracts them, they're also like a slower speed, so it's not going to have the same timing as whatever is being shot at you. So it makes it an interesting option for setup. He's also got like the ability to like create his own like his projectile like platform that he can like hop on his spaceship and stuff. You guys can see it here on the video. Basically, he can hop on like ships, and then the ship will start shooting beams from it. So if you're like in trouble, you can use the ship as a platform to jump off of and start shooting rockets out from it. So they definitely thought about some interesting stuff in the actual play design. So I think that's a pretty nice touch. But yeah, we did cover both Marvin and the Game of Thrones reveal. So Game of Thrones, there's a map they're adding to the game, which I mean I think is kind of funny just in general because it's like you got all of these characters from all over the place. Some way more kid friendly. And then there is like a Game of Thrones map arena going down in the near future, which will be part of everything where you basically... But I mean, at the same time, it is the classic look. I'll put it up here on the screen in a second.
Sure.
But it is the classic throne room. So it's not the same as like the Red Wedding or anything. But it is going to work, I guess, with the platform. But there will be like pitfalls and stuff like that on the map, like trap doors that can open and that kind of stuff. But you can see like the classic throne and those kind of things going down in the background. So, I mean, that in itself is pretty cool. Just having like a representation of Game of Thrones, like in any kind of like fighting or platformer and stuff like that is still pretty solid. Since there's not really much gameplay or game-wise that Game of Thrones has really been attached to outside of like Telltale. So just having that kind of expand in a way that it does here is pretty cool.
Yeah, I like this a lot. When I'm just my first opinion or I guess like thoughts on this stage is that of course it's a walk off, and even though there are like platfalls in the middle or pratfalls, excuse me. I know like in the platform fighting community, like they would like stages to have ledges and stuff, that opens up the door for competitive play. Kind of like in Smash doubles, like, we run team attack and things as such. That way it's just not two sides shooting things at each other, just turning their brain off and just spamming. So This one, I don't know if we're going to see this one at a competitive level. I mean, but then again, Multiverses has free reign to literally run and do whatever they want. They don't have to take that page out of whatever book that I'm talking about. So, yeah, it's a beautiful area. It almost reminds me a little bit of like Coliseum and Smash, or like the second level of Castle Siege and Brawl.
Yeah, I mean this is just like an image, so there could be moving platforms and stuff that just aren't shown here. Since you can see kind of like the openings and stuff. So there might be more to it after. They might just be doing that. This image might just be a portion of at the beginning of the stage or something like that before things get rolling.
Yep.
Just to kind of keep it more as a surprise for when it actually drops. But yeah, I'm all for like having more stages. I think that there seems to be like a Multiverses is definitely cranking out content in that regard, where we've between like Black Adam and Spike and all these other characters coming out, and then like the maps and other stuff being added. I do hope that like there's a settle down period where they're like, okay, we feel like the quality of the game is where it needs to be. It's time to start like settling into a meta, and then we start releasing more down the line after we get more of that established. Which kind of brings us, a bit more into the competitive side of things that happened this weekend, because with the actual tournaments that they've been sponsoring, there is more of that kind of conversation happening with who was competing and how. So we saw a bit of that going down over the last couple of days, both between qualifiers and the actual events themselves.
100%, man. I'm glad that they're finally getting their feet wet in that department. I think for like just fighting game enthusiasts like ourselves, just from what I'm looking at here, our thoughts are, online is cool. Online is online. It's like being a musician. It's like, studio is studio, but like, live is live. And I think we kind of have a similar approach to that with fighting games, where it's like online is online, but what is the experience like in person? I'll be honest, a lot of like in-person multiverses, it's kind of rough, but not, for the sake of like the game being horrible or like the community being bad. The community it's like any other fighting game community. I think it's just hard to do this live right now. Like, just given the game's dynamics and like you said, them kind of getting this product out, to the world, and maybe not thinking as much about in person, which in their defense, I'd imagine a good chunk of the development for Multiverse is probably happening during quarantine, where they're like, you know what, fuck it. Give them online and we'll worry about offline later. It's nice to pull up to a tournament and play in person. I'll put it that way, Multiverses. But whatever you've been doing is working, so I ain't complaining.
Yeah, I mean, like it is at least something right now for people that might be hungry for having anything competitive wise. Because if you don't have like that scene, growing and developing, then it's going to be harder to kind of keep everything else going. And so, also again, we're moving towards the end of the year, so people traveling is a lot harder to do. Outside of your regular, responsibilities, if there's not a competitive multiplayer scene that's built up to the level where you're doing that, full time or anything. So most folks, if they're not already inside of a Smash scene or something like that, or a fighting game scene and getting paid enough to travel for that, it's going to be a little bit hard to kind of get the things rolling on this until next year, outside of an online kind of space, especially considering that this is a team-based game too. So you got to make sure your partner is also ready to squad up and show out the same way for this kind of stuff. So between like Thanksgiving and Christmas, it's going to be a bit rough to kind of get anything going. But I feel like this should be the period of time, both competitively and just with the game overall, where things are being established with the carriers that are available, and that the game itself is saying that, hey, we've done what we need to do to make this kind of like our 1.0 with everything that we need in there. Balance-wise, and then just let that move into some kind of in-person tournament early on in the new year. Or make it a situation where you're showing out at one of the majors that are already kind of, pushed. A final round or something like that is usually in March. That kind of stuff, where like, had those kind of conversations now so that we can kind of start setting up and establishing, hey, we'll be at this event anyway. It's time to pull up for some multiverses action while we're there. Or maybe the devs, will be able to have some kind of conversation with people who are running some of the Smash events about doing something else on the side at their events that are already planned for the new year. But I think that kind of conversation needs to be started to be had now before we move into the new year. So there's some kind of established growth for a in-person scene moving forward if they really wanted to kind of like succeed the way they plan on it to.
I agree. Multiverse, of course, they're backed by like some strong individuals. I know we've had the opportunity to chat with a lot of them here at Shacknews, and I know that they have a plan. I just can't help but to feel, and this isn't like anything directed at them. It's more so like it's more so just like the person in us who have watched fighting games kind of come and go, or like stay for a while. They're here for a long time and they're not really giving you much while they're here. It's like, okay, yeah, those characters are cool, or like, damn, we didn't get any DLC, but at least we got that thing. It's like, then it turns into, oh yeah, well, I know we don't have that, but at least we got this. And I sometimes feel like Multiverses is kind of going down that path, but between them giving us fresh characters and more stuff to do online, maybe they're just kind of carving their own path for themselves. And honestly, fighting game community is a community about diversity and innovation. So if they carve their own lane, I'm with it. So that's Multiverses, of course, but we do have our esports rundown, friends. Now, for those first-time viewers who are a little confused about what the esports rundown is, it is some smaller yet equally as impactful stories that Denny and I are about to jump in on. The first one being today is Super Smash Brothers Melee, Super Smash Bros. 2, Super Smash Bros. For the GameCube, whatever you want to call it. It's birthday. It's finally 21 and old enough to buy itself a drink, I guess. And 21 really doesn't mean anything these days. All right. Welcome to the real world. Time to pay bills. But yeah, we got to talk about some of our favorite Melee moments. Denny, did you happen to have one?
Well, I mean, I didn't really watch competitive Melee or any of that back in the day, but my favorite Melee moment happened in my own house when I beat my cousin in a 1-7 for the first time, and he had to buy pizza for the entire room. So that's my favorite Melee moment over the time period, because we used to throw down every weekend in the game overall. But I did enjoy watching Melee at one of the combo breakers. I want to say it was maybe 2019 or 2018. I did get to catch a bit of the Melee play on stage that year, and just overall, I remember that being somewhat of a cool experience. I can't remember which year they were rolling it with. But it was like they had some side stuff going on, and I hadn't really followed Melee competitively at all for the most part up until that point. But just like the hype for someone was going down was pretty cool to see. I was volunteering that year, and they asked for some help in the Smash room when they were running all of the different tourneys. So I got to watch things on the side while I was in there, and just seeing like the excitement from people that were really getting into it. Left an impression there. I was like, okay, maybe the Smash community isn't so bad at some of this stuff. But yeah, all jokes aside, happy birthday to Melee. I think that it's definitely left an impression on a lot of people. We did get some suggestions and options for your one and only Asif, who isn't here today. But you definitely had plenty of moments he thought were pretty interesting. So
yeah, so some of the ones he sent. Yeah, he sent, of course, the Happy Feet Wombo combo, which is probably one of the most, if not the most iconic anything ever in Melee history. That's courtesy, of course, of the doubles. Yeah, that's courtesy, of course, of the doubles gameplay itself. As we know, that match quickly went from a 2-on-2 to a 2v1. And in the world of platform fighters, your ass has some trouble. But what really, I think, kind of elevated the experience was Homemade Waffles, who we had on the show just a few months ago. His commentary was just, Happy Feet Wombo combo. Then, of course, the cherry on top is the get your ass whooped. Because honestly, bro, like sometimes that's just how you got to explain it. Like on commentary, like, yo, so what exactly happened to Rod when he played Denny? Bro, Rod he just got his ass whooped, and that's just boom. That's it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, look, those are those moments where like, hey, this is why I am always thankful for commentary. People kind of, sleep sometimes on how much commentary adds to the experience for, watching competitive play. But it actually can have a long-staying impression on people over the years. So shout out to our commentators out here. Obviously, we got one in the room, but it's a big deal in every esports scene. I feel like.
You know, I'm gonna link mine really quick. So I have a couple. So the first one I was gonna link, I actually don't want to link it anymore because there's somebody in commentary who is no longer with the community, and I just, just probably don't want to give them any screen time. But for those who do want to go and watch on their own, it's Zenith 2014 Melee. I believe it's Hacks versus Mewtwo King. Wonderful match. My other one is actually not even Melee, but it features somebody who's predominantly, Melee focused, which is Mango. At the first Get On My Level up in Canada, he's doing a one stock brawl. And so what they're doing is basically he's going up against a slew of opponents, all one stock, all in brawl, and he is just farming. I mean, it's bad. But the one I am confident to link is actually Mango versus Armada at the Big House 6. Now, I'm actually in the audience, I'm pretty sure. A young and happy and fruitful ride. Before I've been beaten down by the esports industry. I drove 12 hours for this event, and I worked the singles pool and a doubles pool. So I'd worked 2 blocks, drove 12 hours, and made, I don't know, Denny, $150. I made no fucking money. Shared a room with 6 people, but the highlight is this Melee here. I'm gonna put it in the run of show here for us. Hold on, where are we at? Okay, and basically it features Mango, who I believe at this point in time in his Smash career had been kind of struggling versus Armada. Now, Mango, of course, most notably known for being the GOAT, for those of us who've been living under a rock. And he had a phenomenal showing, I think, up until this point, like 2012, 13, and 14. 15 and 16 got a little rough for him. And so Big House, of course, it being one of our pillars, kind of like CEO and Combo Breaker are to the fighting game community, he pulled up and he beat Armada. And this wasn't an easy thing to do at this time because Armada was whooping ass, but he pulled it off. And I think you can probably see me in the front row here. I'm gonna scroll to the end. Let me see. I wonder if you can. I think. Oh, you know what? Okay. So I'm scrolling. Oh, you know what? You can't see me. Damn, I'm being blocked by a cameraman. That's okay, though. Those guys are important, too.
Yeah, I will say that I do like one thing I will give Smash credit for is the presentation-wise, how, they do, the, full-body sit-down cams because of the aspect ratio on Melee. A pretty cool presentation-wise sometimes. It's just a change-up from what I'm used to seeing on, other fighting games when they're not classic or... your box tube TV aspect ratio or whatever. But it's a nice touch on the Melee stuff.
Oh yeah, no doubt about it, man. I think you have to bring a level of production, I think, to a game like this where we've fought. I'm saying fought loosely, fought so hard to prove ourselves as an esport, and I feel like if you're going to capture these moments, you better do it the right way because, bro, in the fighting game community, there was a time where it was just a mic on the table. You was lucky if there was a dude holding the camera. We was just yelling, bro. You just yelling, trying to capture that hype. And my other one that I completely spaced on is actually Hugs versus Amsa at the Big House 5. They're playing for losers 9th, which is a very strange format. And this is the end of day 2. Hugs, of course, playing Samus, fighting his absolute ass off right now. Amsa, of course, is on the uphill swing, as we've seen just over the weekend. And I'm actually watching this one in the front row. Now, full disclaimer, if I happen to pop up at the end of this video, I am absolutely drunk off my ass. Be real. I'm watching fighting games and I don't have any work to do, so I'm just chilling. I'm actually in pool attire in the front. So I'm in what appears to be swim trunks or underwear. I'm not exactly sure. And I have a bathrobe on and a handle of Jack in my hand. But I'm pretty sure if I screenshot myself, I'm somewhere here. Yeah, I can see myself right here. Yeah, this is a young and happy ride. And that was one of my favorite moments in Melee history. I'm like, oh my God, no Fox, no Peach. These are 2 guys slugging it out with mid tiers, low tiers. And damn, look at the audience. This audience is rivaling what we're going to see for Sunday finals. And I'm also a little drunk. So everything's hitting time screen day. This was beautiful.
It sounds like quite the combination of things that make it a memorable rod moment there, where it's left a permanent impression on your brain for different reasons. But that's also what it's all about too. At the same time, I think that's when it comes to playing games like this, you remember those kind of things more so because of just where your thought process was, or where your mind was in some of those mind periods. Especially considering that like people like us who've maybe been around, it can some things can kind of stack over time, but then you think back about like, man, when someone actually asks you like what was your favorite moment for some of this stuff, you'd be surprised what actually ends up standing out to you the most.
True. It's very, very true. Now I have some favorite moments for games that aren't even out yet, like Street Fighter 6. Now I know for our next topic here, Street Fighter 6 dynamic control setting for offline only. Now we've talked about plenty of times how a game like Street Fighter is going to get as many new players in and staying on as possible, because getting players to play ain't hard. That's why they're in the business they're in. But after you get your ass beat a couple times, getting them to stay becomes kind of difficult. So, Denny, I think you linked this one. Tell me a little bit more about this here.
Yeah, so Street Fighter 6 is trying some different things this time around, which I think is actually pretty interesting. Mainly because they have some plans to change things up a bit, as far as offering options for people to use a different control scheme. And this is something different than we might have seen in the past with of course there is the simple control scheme that they've already used before. And that's just being able to use different abilities and stuff like that, and special moves and those kind of things. And people were complaining, of course, before, just from hearing that layout was going to be an option. But they decided to have a different kind of hybrid ability available this time around. What makes this a bit different than some of what you might have seen with like the simple side so far is that the special move or like combo is dependent on the location and situations. So like you're gonna get different options in the corner, for example, compared to when you're at mid screen with the dynamic control scheme. What this is kind of like available for is for people that may not know the best options for being aggressive or using different abilities. Just from like fighting games in general. Obviously, me and you might know to rush down somebody in the corner and use certain frame traps and such, but it's not something that might be as common sense to people who are new to this kind of gameplay or play style. So stuff like wall bounces or like getting kind of setups aren't necessarily the same for everyone. So this is kind of like it's going to give you different options for a simple press. Set up for like combinations or special abilities depending on where you are on screen. So like further away, you're gonna get a simple button projectile, like your Hadoken or whatever. And then closer up, you might get a stronger move or ability based on that button press that will give you the opportunity to kind of like follow up on a combo string or something like that easier. Obviously, there's a higher chance of someone being able to use this to their advantage to like do some kind of frame trap nonsense, breaking the game or something, which is why it's only going to be available offline and not going to be something that people can do online or trying use some kind of basically macro button setup, those kind of things with the options for the way it is. The reason why I think this is actually an interesting tool that they're putting together is because the same way that there's the simple abilities, if you're someone that would like to learn kind of how to use some of the dynamics of the game based on each character to see kind of what might be effective from different ranges, this gives you the opportunity to do so without it being necessarily a complete handhold. And you still have people that from an accessibility standpoint, this might be easier for them to be able to do if there's still situations where like the button and simple control, D-pad setup or joystick setup isn't working for them. So if you're someone that can understand, both zoning and your corner pressure and stuff like that, but you can't necessarily do it from the button presses in combination. Like a lot of people can't do a Tiger Knee or DP just based off of like their hands in the setup for like the joystick and stuff like that.
Sure.
because I've talked to people that, and not only just older generations and stuff like that, but I have friends who have like genetic conditions where they've developed like early type arthritis and stuff like that in their hands that keeps them from being able to use a joystick in that way to kind of do some of those things. So having the ability to kind of just hit one button and you can toss out a fireball or whatever goes a long way. Especially if you're also new to the game and trying to figure out when's the best time to move some of these stuff. I think it's a nice option to kind of try and tweak, and it really tells me that Capcom as a whole is trying to make this game as available and accessible to everyone as possible from jump, so because they really want to make sure it gets. I mean, everyone plays this game basically.
Yeah, I'm with that, man. I like that idea. It almost reminds me of like the assisted driving thing in Mario Kart, where like I think it's an option that you can toggle on not on the Wii U version, but on Deluxe with the Switch. Like if you get too close to the wall, it will like move you away and kind of help you drift and drive. And but of course, Street Fighter is always going to take it a step above because this is a competitive game, through and through. And I like this. This is opening up the door for people, and I'm thinking back to myself when I used to teach. Like there are some students who love to play fighting games, but like they just couldn't get past the idea of sucking or like just not being able to do basic inputs. And every fighting game is different. I get it. I struggled a little bit with like Mortal Kombat playing years of Tekken. I'm like, okay, I got to do back forward stuff now. This is different. But of course, with a little practice, you can make anything possible. And I think Street Fighter is taking it a step above where it's like, hey, you can play it the way you want to play it for the time being. You just can't do it online. But sooner or later, everybody gets curious. Like riding a bike with training wheels, sooner or later, you're going to be like, I got to take these training wheels off and see what it's really like. You know what I'm saying? See how like, the world is when I'm, off those training wheels. And
Yeah,
I think Street Fighter is doing a beautiful job at that.
it gives you the opportunity to kind of make that work. But what makes it interesting is that like this is all AI assisted, so it's like the system they're building inside of it is going to make those decisions for you depending on the range and options you have available. So like you'll have the opportunity to like basically hit combos with just a single button press when you're close to an opponent, depending on which button you're pushing in that range. So you'll still have options with like the 3 to 4 button setup at the different ranges between long, close, and mid range. You'll be able to choose, how you want to do that in each situation. So it's not just going to be you like hitting circle only, and you can just hit circle only from each range, and that's it. Like you have like square, triangle, and circle to play around with, or square, X, and circle, whatever on a PS5 controller to play around with. That and seeing what each button does in those ranges. So if X gives you a different combo than circle does, you can decide where you want to. That gives you that same opportunity to teach, which one you want to use, what's going to have the same kind of recovery from hitting those combos, etc., without necessarily having to do the execution part in every situation. So, opens up the doors for people to be able to get that kind of play style in without it being tied necessarily to the execution being the most important thing.
Yeah, and I love every bit of that. It's just opening up the door again for people who might just need help playing the game. Now, on the topic of needing help, we got to talk about Ludwig really quick. I know we're coming up on the hour here pretty soon. Ludwig, he did a 50-hour charity subathon at DreamHack Atlanta 2022. Now, I know we talked about this term just a little bit ago from the scope of the fighting game community, but for those of us who don't know what DreamHack is, well, it's a place to hack your dreams. I actually don't know what the name means in accordance to, the event, but Ludwig pulled up, and that's all you need to know. So, did a 50-hour charity subathon, and honestly, this is the type of shit I like to see. Not just because it's a charity event, but because they are, streamers and personalities stepping out of the URL into the IRL and bringing their presence and letting it be known that, hey, I am just as cool in person as I am online. If not, a little cooler. Denny, a glass box, bro? Like, I got a piece sooner or later. Like, what are we doing in this glass box, bro?
Yeah, I mean, I did see my buddy Chris, who does plenty of this type of setup, did say that he does have access to the bathroom, so they did make sure a man got to take a bathroom break or two during the event. But it's awesome to see. I'm a big fan of like there being charity based events at these kind of events. Obviously, TwitchCon and such, have tons of charity teams and those kind of things too, for stuff like St. Jude. And I think that it's a way to kind of take advantage of having like the in-person energy of the people both around you, but also I think that it also comes through for people that do decide to donate. When they see it's part of not only just a limited event, but also something that's happening live. It does have an effect on the audience watching and stuff. So pretty cool. Shout out to Ludwig for raising that kind of money. Big stuff there. But I like to see those kind of things. I think that there could be more of that kind of energy in the competitive scene with folks playing for charity. The same way that we see if like SGDQs and stuff like that. I'd like to see more of that energy kind of show its way into the esports side at some of these events. There's situations where we have people who come through when they do the tournament side, compete and everything else. We have our side pools and stuff like that. I would love to see like a charity based, just one off with some of the top names in some of these scenes doing some stuff for charity, like an exhibition or. It doesn't take much when you have it's mainly just organizing part that takes a lot of work. Behind the scenes, which obviously is not something that just one person can put on their shoulders. But if there was enough interest, I'd love to see like stuff like a combo breaker and stuff like that, where there's a major like tournament presence and also the opportunity for a charity get together. Maybe the same way that they have like your money match auctions and stuff like that. There's just an area where like folks can pull up and have like some charity incentives that the goal when Twitch side could reach or something like that would be pretty fun.
Yeah, I love all of that. I think just even bringing up a tournament like Combo Breaker. I mean, if there was ever a tournament to do it, I could imagine Rick would be the one leading this charge of like, I don't know, the opportunity to children, like the Boys and Girls Club, local Boys and Girls Club playing with top players, or I don't know, like a couples bracket, or I don't know, something innovative, something that people would pull up for and laugh and have a good time. Where
even if Jabali was pulling up and he was like, "Yo, I'm gonna put on this wrestling match for charity. If you guys show up and you
come body slam Jabali,
you got enough charity money coming in. We'll get some of the top wrestler stars to come through for an event or something. I'd pull up for that. Like pull up and Jade comes through from AEW. I know she's beating with Bow Wow right now, but when she's done with that, if she decides to come through, I would be down to put some money towards a charity to watch it. I will match it for her.
That is FitX, my friend. Big facts. I would love to see that too. And also, just really quick, want to touch on G-Walking here. Introducing G-Walk in the new Modern Warfare. As you know, it takes little to no time for hackers and people who just want to play around with the game's coding to get in behind the scenes on what this game is and start messing with stuff. And it looks like the modders have done exactly that here. And they have introduced G-Walking. As you can see, the people in the game are kind of doing this Planet of the Apes style gallop, and they can move extremely fast, and they can kind of fly a little bit too, and just, Denny, just do whatever the fuck they want. What are your thoughts on this?
I've seen this ridiculousness. People have been talking about it, and I've been seeing the vids pop up the last couple of days. But it is pretty wild. They're leaving around like spider monkeys out here. All right, around corners, off of ledges. It's pretty hilarious to see the action, and because they're still getting shots off afterwards. And I'm like, this is wild. Like, why is this so effective? But at the same time, it is first week of COD. So the fact that someone even figured this out and then was able to spread the gospel of G-Walk in this short period of time is pretty hilarious to see. I'm sure it's going to get patched out, obviously. But as of right now, it's pretty funny to see on these maps, especially long range.
Yeah, I mean, and at least this one came at the expense, I believe, of the modders. Unlike some of the other shooting games that will remain unnamed that take place in outer space, when you start walking through walls and doing stuff like this is because of the game's developers, not the wonderful fans at home. So, yeah, interesting to see. Of course, I would imagine this either will last forever or it just won't last very long. That's usually how these games go. So, very funny to see. And honestly, the chuckle that I needed in the esports space. Now, Denny, I'll be real with you. I'm tired of laughing. I'm ready to eat. All right. You know what time it is, bro.
I mean,
it's time for Soft
There could be plenty of eating happening this week. Hopefully, your auntie, your uncle was bringing the good stuff. for Thanksgiving. I know you brought some stuff for us this week for Sauce Talk, but I'm gonna have faith in these stories this week.
Look, now they're better. All right, Chef Rod will not lead you astray, Denny. You know, man, you always got a welcome seat at the Rod family Thanksgiving. You just might be eating Burger King. That's what I'm kidding. No, all jokes aside, this first one here is a sweet one for a change, right? Not the gross shit that we, and by we, really just me, be bringing to the table. New apple pie roll spotted at Panda Express. Now, look, I'm a big Panda Express hater, okay? I will die on this hill. What type of Chinese food are we consuming? It's just not the best quality of food, but it is convenient, so whatever. But they're doing apple pie rolls, and I'm kind of here for this. It says Panda's newest take on the dessert is described as sweet, crispy, warm, and pairs perfectly with autumn. To celebrate the launch, Panda Express is offering a buy one, get one free apple pie roll when ordering online at Panda Express from the mobile app with the promo code, apple pie 22. Denny, what's your thoughts on this?
Like, it doesn't look terrible, but at the same time, it's the last thing I think of when I think Panda Express would be any kind of Apple product. I don't know where the background for this decision, like, for it to be Apple out of all things, I feel like I understand for the autumn you're talking about, but it's still Panda Express. So why was Apple chosen here out of all the potential fruits or combinations? Is a bit strange. I don't really feel like when I think like any kind of Chinese cuisine, I don't think of cinnamon and apple as the energy that they give off for any kind of sweet item. Usually ever. So it's just a very weird combination, I feel like. But the idea, this looks like something that I would expect to see from like Taco Bell or something. Like an apple empanada or something like that in comparison to these apple pie rolls.
I'm going to have to agree with you on that. Like, my first thought is Panda Express, boom, Chinese food. I mean, there's a lot of things I'm thinking about before apple pie, or really just sweets in general, because this is Chinese food. Like, the idea that I have going into like Chinese food versus other restaurants are very, very different. Like subconsciously, I'm like, I'm not here for sweets. All right. I'm here for something like delicious and savory. But I'm thinking of like different types of Chinese food. Then I'm thinking of foods that could be mistaken for Chinese food. Then I'm even thinking about, you know what if we just ate pandas? Like I'm thinking of a lot of things before we get to apple pie.
Let's come.
Yeah, here we are, bro.
We don't need the pandas, okay? So just no pandas, no panda eating happening here. All right. We love pandas around here for the most part, except for like I don't know about Panda Global, but the other pandas are usually not bad. All right.
Right. Well, I think all jokes aside, I think I might try one. I like pie. I like things with filling, so I might be able to give this one a go, and maybe it can turn around my opinion on Panda Express because I'm gonna be real, not a big fan of Panda Express. I appreciate what they bring to the table, of course, convenient Chinese food. But bro, you live in Chicago, I live in Tri-State. Anybody who lives in
I don't remember the last time I've had Panda Express. It had to be like several years ago in some like mall near my dorm when I had like $5 or something.
Yeah, like you got to be down bad.
Yeah, I was in Missouri at that time, so there were cornfields and not a lot of Chinese food happening. So that was probably the last time I had Panda Express legitly. There are people that swear by it for whatever reason, but just like I think about that like sweet ass orange chicken that tastes like, and then like the fried rice that has like peas and corn and all that other shit in there that I never asked for, and I don't want any of that. I'm good.
Yeah, those people who swear by Panda Express, they need to be taken to jail. We need to round them up. All right, you're going to the big house. All right, because what the hell? All right, we don't do that here.
You heard Rod here. He said you guys need to be locked up. He wants you guys out of here. All right.
Yeah, you're gonna have to see Denny and I in court, and you won't win that case. You're going to jail. It's very serious. Now, for this other one here, this one's not as sweet, but this one is kind of a continuation of something that went down just a couple years ago. Now, Popeyes has launched a new blackened chicken sandwich nationwide. The blackened chicken sandwich features a juicy, antibiotic-free whole chicken breast marinated for 12 hours allegedly. Cooked up to seal in bold Cajun and Creole seasoning. Now, apparently, they started running this November 15th, starting at $4.99. Denny, what you think, bro?
You know, I have actually seen the sandwich come up on Twitter a couple times this past week, and some folks are saying that it is legit the truth. Like I've seen some people saying, "Hey, this black and chicken sandwich is actually slapping."
Mm-hmm.
I feel like now marinated for 12 hours. Do I believe that?
Nah, come
on. I don't know if I believe all that. Okay.
12 minutes?
But at the same time, maybe, you know, Popeyes, I mean, they did have the original spicy chicken going down, and they probably have been trying to concoct another, you know, way to sweep up that audience again. So I can see them actually putting effort in this. I can see them actually, like, putting in enough strategy to find the right combination of herbs and spices going down to make this legit. Now, will you get that experience, you know, at every Popeyes? That is the question. Like, that is where I'm a little bit more concerned, you know. Plus, this is blackened chicken. Is it non-fried? Is it baked? Like, what's the setup here? Is it like lightly fried with the blackened outside the marination? Like, how is that going down? Because it also has a determining factor on how it decide to eat the sandwich. Because
that's facts.
And also, like, I'm not a pickle fan, so I don't like pickles on anything for the most part. So you're already taking me down one ingredient, and you don't put cheese on your sandwiches. So I would most likely not be diving into this single-handedly. You know, there would have to be some other things on the side happening.
Okay.
Some other forms of chicken most likely ordered at the same time as this sandwich if I was trying it out. It would be like, for like $4 or $5, okay. But I'm gonna slap some cheese on it at home. Like, that's the thing. But it would still be ordered with like some popcorn chicken or something on the side, some Popeyes fries. I would pass on the dry ass biscuit, but you know, the usual.
Yeah, we don't eat the Popeyes biscuits. I mean, that shit is as hard as a doorstop and probably tastes the same. I don't do the Popeyes biscuits.
It's scary hours out there. You might choke on that, and we won't have to. We don't want to lose anybody out here in these streets.
Man, no, because that'd be the most non-gangster funeral ever. It's like, here lies Rod, died of a Popeyes biscuit, you know? I didn't even die doing what I love. Like, I died damn Popeyes biscuit. That was probably
it actually says the Popeyes culinary team spent 4 years perfecting its version of this chicken.
Oh, brother. Oh, brother.
They were in the lab like, we can do it. It's taken 4 years, you know? My children have graduated from college while we were making this chicken sandwich happen. And now, finally, on the last day, if we hit toward the last month of the year in 2022, we have perfected the blackened chicken sandwich. And now it's time for us to release it to the public. And someone's like, yes, this is so good that we can sell it for $5, $4.99, and it will still sell like hotcakes. And here we are. We have reached that point in the timeline.
The chokehold that Popeyes has on the community, the figurative and literal chokehold because of the Popeyes biscuits is absolutely insanity. And I hope one day that they ease up, because the chokehold is something similar to Melvin versus Jody and Baby Boy. Like, it's some serious shit. So it's that's right. Go ahead, call for your mama. It's one of them. So yeah. But yeah, friends, that's Sauce Talk. You know, Popeyes is back in these streets again, doing things that they maybe should or shouldn't be doing, but only time we'll tell. We'll keep a watch eye on the news and see if anybody just miraculously passes away. Then we know exactly where it came from.
Well, we still have the last segment of the day, and that's, of course, our Cortex Carnage report. Because, surprise, surprise, your boy 8 Mikey is at it again. You know, pulling up with the W's and doing so in style. I will say that, you know, at least this time around, there's been some folks who have pulled up and have been at least somewhat in the conversation with things on this end. So 8 Mikey, of course, has taken Shacknews for the week. Big dubs, big W for him there. But our very own Paul Winged Azar has pulled up in second place this week. And gotta say, you know, Morgan, you know, shout out to them. You know, they were off last week here at Shacknews because of their birthday. So happy birthday to Morgan. Hope you enjoyed your time off. But clearly, you got in some time on Shack Pets because you were rolling it in almost 100,000 points on the Shack Pets end, and put you in second place for the week here at Shacknews in Shacknews Cortex. So that's pretty big. I've been watching you, lurking in the shadows, in the top 10 for multiple weeks. But now with that extra time off, you put in the work, and it's been showing off. So. Being within, I feel like being within, 100,000 points of 8 Mikey is quite the triumph in itself because, as you can see, he is taking it off almost 200,000 points in the Shack Pets arena is in itself, pretty wild. So pretty impressive stuff on that end. Still rolling it hard. Mad Dog Delphi, coming through as well, winning Chatty this week. So big stuff. Big dubs across the board. But shout outs to all of them. Sam, Greg, Burke in the top 5 as well. Dusty pulling up 80,000 points.
Oh yeah.
And we've got
I'm looking at Shack News for the day as well. I know we don't, try to. It's not that we don't try to. We just always talk about the week here. But for the day, we have Mamu123 winning Shack News for November 20th, 2022. Of course, I was yesterday, but that was Sunday. Mamu in first place, Patty in second, and of course our very own Blake Morse in third place as well too. So, and then Morgan again in fourth place. So we got some killers lurking, Danny. You ain't wrong, bro.
Yeah, fresh week, as we hit into the holidays, maybe you got, some more time to get in those swipes on Shack Pets, but also, reading through some articles, those kind of things count too. So hopefully we'll see a lot more of that going down this week. We got some surprises going through and some announcements as on the Shack Pets end. So, keep an eye out for that moving forward. But yeah, it's been a great week on the Shack News front, and a great week here on Wide World Electronic Sports, as always. And we got one more week to make things go down again before we're done for the year with holiday season, game of the year content, and other stuff coming up pretty soon. So, me and Rod have plenty to talk about, I'm sure, as we bring out the rest of the year in our next episode. Rod, you got anything to say to the people?
Yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure. Big thank you to everybody who pulled up. Sailor East, I see you in the chat, and big thank you to you for pulling up. This is one of my Pokemon partners in crime. No Team Rocket though. All right, we playing the right way. Big thank you to you for pulling up and just hanging out with us for these full 2 hours. Usually we have a guest. The guest brings their community, and then after they dip, then the community dips, and some people decide to stay. Issa did, so big thank you to you, and go ahead and follow her on Twitter as well too. Big Pokemon fan, but. Also, follow us here on Shack News. We do great work here just all across the board. Denny, of course, not only is just a phenomenal co-host here on the Wide World of Electronic Sports, but gets the social media game, and he gets it and he puts it in the chokehold and he doesn't let go, okay? Instagram, Shack News Media. Of course, we're on YouTube as well. 2 channels, can you believe it? Double the Shack News, double the fun. And, of course, we're also on Twitter.com. Verified and everything, if that still means anything these days. I don't know. That's a topic for the Thursday show. But, yes, we're verified on there, and we're getting shit done. And we talked about some of our employees on the Cortex report, but they do so much great work behind the scenes, writing articles, reaching out, doing interviews, and I feel like they don't get enough shine. So big shout out to the whole Shack News team. And also, shout out to you as viewers. Without you, wonderful viewers and readers and interactors out there, we wouldn't really have a job. And so we thank you for tuning in with us every week and hanging out with Denny and I. It's an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, for sure. It's been awesome. Shout outs to Donovan and Lord Emvee for being on the show this week. We look forward to coming back again after that Thanksgiving weekend, Hopefully we'll see you all then. Maybe I'll bring a little extra leftovers to the chat.
That's right. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be leftovers time, no doubt. With that in mind, friends, that's going to conclude another episode 157. Denny and Rod featuring Lord Emvee and Donovan Erskine. We will see you next time for 158. Peace.
Peace out.